do, the Rebel Militia crew? What's good? What's good? We have some news that you will not want to miss about Max Crosby, Pete Carroll, little birdie in my ear. That yeah, you're gonna want to hear, right? Birdie in my ear, you're gonna want to hear. So stay tuned. Have no fear. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody. What's going on, man? Also, we are gonna break down what the Raiders do with the number one or the number two pick. Yes, I guess we're just rapping today. What's good? What's good? Navy vet in the building. Second in the building. Appreciate you. Shout out to the militia gang. Always on time, always on time. But yeah, man, we got some stuff to talk about. We're going to break down a whole lot of stuff. And then Pete Carroll news, like I said, you're not going to want to miss. Some people may be happy. Some people might not be happy. We will get into some coaching staff and some coaching news. And then, of course, man, the Raiders. The Raiders. We will thank the Atlanta Falcons. Everybody, thumbs up in the chat. Thank you to the Atlanta Falcons for beating the Rams last night and securing the Raiders at least the first or the second spot in this year's 2026 NFL draft. So good news, but bad news, right? You've seen the title. Let's get into that right off the rip. The bad news. I guess I should wait for more people to come in here, but let me shout out everybody in the building. Grandpa Harold in the building. Appreciate you. Candy, what it do? Pin your channel. Roller. Who you calling Roller? Who the hell is Roller? What the hell? Greg Brewer in the building. What's good? Ramrod, what's good? Rams played a lot of backups. Well, thank you. Thank you. The Los Angeles Rams got to help out their old crew, right? Damn, it's hot in here all of a sudden. Got to help out their old crew. So let's get into the not so good news, depending on what side you're on, right? What side you're on. The not so good news is Aiden O'Connell will play against the Kansas City Chiefs. Or so. The head coach with the long nose like Pinocchio says he wants to see Kenny Pickett and Aiden O'Connell. Geno is a no-go, not a high ankle sprain, just an ankle sprain. But on that note, Geno Smith is clever, bro. Geno Smith is clever. A lot of people might not know this about Geno Smith. $58 million, right? Guaranteed. If we let him go, we got to pay $8 million or $10 million, but it goes up to $18 million if he finished the season on injured reserve or injured because he can't play. He is now injured and has an ankle injury and will miss the final game. So now the Raiders are stuck for another $8 million to Geno Smith. Shout out to SpyTech for writing it up, to just keep giving this guy free money. You want money here? It's Mark Davis's money. Just throw it around. So the contract, was made where they could get out of it if they had to get out of it. But are they really trying to get out of it? Will Geno Smith be back next year? We will get into that here in a little bit when we talk about Pete Carroll. But the bad news, and there's more bad news to come, right? Not so good news. We'll get into that. But if Aiden O'Connell gets in the game against the Kansas City Chiefs, he's been the Kansas City Chief killer. I mean, say what you want to. Yeah, he only has 60 yards in the one game. A tutty. Didn't turn the ball over, right? They ran the hell out of the ball, but he controlled the game, right? Like you're supposed to. And then the next game, last year, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Kansas City Chiefs with all their starters in the game. We should have won that game. There was a botched snap. We all know how that goes. We lost. It is what it is. But again, Aiden O'Connell against Spags and that defense has it down, bro. You can't give a great mind like Aiden O'Connell the same team over and over and over again, whether they prepare for it or not. He knows already by playing that defense and playing Spags. And, same thing with Vance Joseph. Aiden O'Connell already knows that defense. He's going to pick it apart if he gets the opportunity. So if you're on that tank train it doesn't look good, right? It doesn't look good. However, there is some other good news. We got good and we got bad today. Let me explain this. Now, first I need to find it. All right, so if the Las Vegas Raiders somehow, Aiden O'Connell, Kenny Pickett, whoever, right, somehow end up beating the Kansas City Chiefs in the last game of the season at home in their house. If the Las Vegas Raiders win and the New York Giants lose, the Raiders need 3 of 4 things to happen. 3 of 4 things to happen. They need San Francisco to beat Seattle. That's going to be a hell of a game. Seattle and San Francisco battling for that division, right? Going to be a hell of a game. They also need Cincinnati to beat the Cleveland Browns. I don't think that's, too big of a task. Joe Burrow's looked hot the last couple of weeks since he's been back. So they also need the New Orleans Saints to beat the Atlanta Falcons, who just came out with Kirk Cousins, with Bijan Robinson, who had one of his best games of his career, going up against a bad defense in the Las Vegas Raiders. Going up against the New Orleans Saints, but they've looked good too. They got Tyler Shuck in the building. He's been shucking the ball all over the field, shucking it left, shucking it right. Double tap the screen, like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. But the Atlanta Falcons need to lose to the New Orleans Saints. That's going to be a tough task also. And then the Detroit Lions have to beat the Chicago Bears. It's for the strength of schedule, right? That puts us still in first place. So there's a possibility that if you're a Raider fan and you don't want to tank, you can root for the Las Vegas Raiders to actually go out and try to win this game. Which, they've been going out and trying to win every game. It's just horribly coached, a horrible offensive line coach, a horrible run game coordinator, horrible passing game coordinator. It's been bad all around. We have weapons, they don't use them. Soldier Boy in the house again. Soldier Boy now, woo! But yeah, so those are the things that happen. San Francisco beat Seattle. Cincinnati beat Cleveland. New Orleans beat Atlanta Falcons. And Detroit needs to beat the Chicago Bears. If those things happen, the Raiders could beat Kansas City at home if the Giants lose and they still retain first place. Now, if the Raiders go out there and beat the Chiefs at home and the Giants win, the Raiders fall to second. That is as low as we can go. Is second place, which is not bad, but it's absolutely horrible when you have number 1 already in your grasp. And we had it last year. We sat at the number 1 spot for a week or two, and then the Raiders went out and raided, and they lost the game. And it could happen. So the bad news and the good news, depending on who you are, right? Everybody in the nation has been screaming for Aiden O'Connell. They want to see Aiden O'Connell. We want to see what Aiden O'Connell has. I think a lot of us already know what Aiden O'Connell has with a good offense. Oh, shit. Mom's home. But with the good offensive line and the weapons he has, Aiden O'Connell's going to pick teams apart. So my hope, Raider Nation, cross your fingers. What we need, besides those things that I just told you, if the Raiders do go out and win and the Giants, they're playing the Cowboys. So Giants, Cowboys, a division game. Jackson Dart's not giving up. He's going out there and trying to prove that he's the guy in New York for the future, for the present, right? And he's got something to play for. So there's that. Thank God. So you have that. We have that going for us. Also, on the other hand, the Kansas City Chiefs have said Travis Kelce will play, right? It's probably his final game of the season. I mean, of his career. Maybe Andy Reid's last game of his career, coaching, coaching in the NFL, right? He's getting up there. It was been a great run, a great dynasty. There's no reason for Andy Reid to keep going, and I believe Andy Reid calls it quits at the end of the year, and they give the job to Spagnuolo or possibly the offensive coordinator over there, Matt Nagy. Could be a possibility, right? Could be a possibility, or maybe Nagy goes somewhere else this year and gets a head coaching job somewhere else. Maybe the Titans, maybe the Giants. Is a big possibility also, right? So, what we need to wish for, if Aiden O'Connell gets in the game, double tap the screen, hit the like button. No, I'm just kidding. But if Aiden O'Connell gets in the game, can it please be in the first half? Can we start him? Can it be in the first half? Because I don't want Aiden O'Connell on the field in the second half with a chance to win us the game. There's too much at stake. Lawrence in the building, what he do? There's too much at stake. There's too much on the line. There's too much to lose if Aiden O'Connell goes out and shows once again that he could be the chief killer, right? He's already been the division killer. I mean, damn, he put up 4 touchdowns in the first half on the Chargers. They don't want to play him again. So he beat the Broncos, 4 times in his career, I think. So, or 3 times? I don't know. But Aiden O'Connell is the division killer, man. And you cannot have this man out here in the second half of this game going out with something, with something to prove in a chip on his shoulder, with weapons that he has, has time with. Michael Mayer, Trey Tucker, right? Jack Bech, he was throwing to all off season. He knows these guys. Cedric Jackson, even Dante Thornton, right? So, Rosetown, what's good? What's good? So, not great news. Not great news if your team Tank and your team Mendoza and you want the Las Vegas Raiders to end up with the first overall pick. Aiden O'Connell supposedly will get some play time. And Kenny Pickett will also supposedly get some play time. So, like I said, can Kenny Pickett just play in the second half? That's all I want. Just play in the second half. Lamar Jackson got to go. Oh, my God. What are we talking about? All right. I'll put off what I was talking about. Shout out to the 16 people in the building. If you would, hit that like button if you like this kind of content. If not, I understand. It's all good. I don't know jack about football. I'm a fight fan. What you want to talk about? What kind of fight? UFC? You like UFC? You like boxing? What do you think about what do you think about old boy getting his jaw broke for 90 mil? Draft Dante Moore. Taylor Green. No to Fernando Mendoza. Raider Nation 510. I am down with the Taylor Green, bro. I would be ecstatic if the Raiders in the 6th round or 7th round drafted Taylor Green. He would outplay everybody in that building, but he's got a lot to work on, man. His decision making is not the greatest. Everything else is it's up there, but your decision making, your your timing, but that could all be fixed. Mechanics could all be fixed in the NFL. He's had good coaching the last couple of years, and I'm a huge Taylor Green fan. He let us down in Arkansas this year. But it wasn't just him. The defense was trash, right? We put up the most points in all of college football. So if you want a dog that can go out there, run the ball, throw the ball, run your offense, Taylor Green is that dude. Taylor Green is that dude. As far as Dante Moore goes, I know people are going to hate this. I would take Taylor Green this year over Dante Moore. For 2 reasons. Taylor Green has been with 2 different teams. He has started for 2 different teams. He has started for 3 different offensive coordinators. He's had 2 or 3, I think 3 different head coaches in college football, and he has the snaps, right? He has over 28 starts, I think close to 30 starts, maybe 33. I don't know if he started every year at Boise State, but I know he started every game the last 2 years at Arkansas. So if you want a man that has that has the experience, that played in the SEC, that played against teams like Texas, that played against teams like Georgia, that played against teams like Notre Dame, played against teams like Ole Miss, and played his ass off, right? And competed. Taylor Green is that guy. But you have to be willing to wait another year or two, and you'd have to go with Aiden O'Connell or bring in a bridge, like a Malik Willis, possibly. But no to Fernando Mendoza and no to Dante Moore. But this year, this year. Look, I'm a big Dante Moore fan. I think that dude's future is bright. Up there with the top Caleb Williams type. Um, Patrick Mahomes type. He can throw. He can run. He's done it all without his star receivers this year. They've been hurt, and we'll see how far he goes in the playoffs and how that ends up. But for me right now, it's a no. I think he only has 14, 13 starts in his career, 12, 13 starts in his career. That's not enough to go to the NFL and think you're going to start right away. They tried that with Baker Mayfield. They tried that um, every quarterback in the first round, right? They tried it with Daniel Jones. They've tried it with Baker Mayfield. They tried it with Kyler Murray. They've tried it, with all these guys that didn't have. Well, I guess Baker kind of had the snaps, but a lot of these guys drafted in the first round that don't have at least 25 to 30 starts underneath their belt. It's just it's harder for them in the NFL. Definitely harder for them to have the pressure being picked number one and have to come in and start. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dante Moore, as good as he is, came in and had an Anthony Richardson type rookie season, right? Just because the NFL is fast. These guys are way faster. They're stronger. The corners are better. The defensive coaching is better. The scheming is better. They're disguising blitzes. They're disguising coverage. You don't know if it's cover three, cover four, cover one, cover zero. Like you can't even tell what the covers are anymore. So for a young quarterback to come in and be good, it's nearly impossible. It's nearly impossible without, you know, having those starts under your belt. And if you look at a guy like Bo Nix, if you look at a guy like Drake May, right? He was in North Carolina. Uh, where was he before that? But anyways, he had the starts under his belt. If you look at Bo Nix, shit, he had more starts in college football than anybody. Look at the way he's come in and been able to adapt to the NFL, right? So you want those guys to at least have the experience, and Taylor Green has that experience. Yes to Mendoza. I'm not on the Mendoza train, bro. I'm that Raider fan that is not. I'm not as high as everybody else. Yes, I think he's going to be good. Yes, I think he could be a franchise quarterback. I just don't know if it's going to be in Vegas, and I don't. There's too many things in Vegas um, and too many things on this team right now to go pick a quarterback number one. Just way too many. Let's get a good quarterback for once. I mean, bro, Taylor Green is a damn good quarterback. And if we're looking at Tom Brady and how Tom Brady wants to let a quarterback sit for a year, I mean, damn, if you could get a bridge quarterback for a year or two, or let Aiden O'Connell rock the last season of his contract, then, bro, Taylor Green is the way to go. I'm telling you. There's I know there's quarterback coaches. I know there's coaches like DeBall that would kill for a Taylor Green and would have this dude probably better than Josh Allen because he's more mobile. He's 6'6", 225 pounds. He Every step is like 10, 15 yards, right? So the dude don't even have to run. The only thing about Taylor Green is running RPOs. I think he makes bad decisions. I think, on read options, I think he makes bad reads. There's too many times he should have kept the ball and he hands off to three guys right there waiting for the running back. So, but all those could be fixed, man. And Taylor Green will climb up the draft boards. Raider Nation 510 says, I know he'll climb. I mean, he's sitting at what, 8 right now? I think the eighth best quarterback. But I guarantee you, if he goes to the Senior Bowl, I don't even know if he's been invited yet. I follow the Hogs. I haven't seen it. So I don't know if he goes to the Senior Bowl. I don't know if he goes to the Shrine Bowl. But if he goes to one of these bowls, he's going to be the star of the show. And when you get to the combine and you see his athleticism, you see how high he can jump and how far he could throw the ball and how quick he is. Yeah, he's definitely going to climb up the boards. I know a little about Greg Hardy because he was in the UFC. He played for the Panthers. So you're a UFC fan, Stefan? Can I be a moderator? Um, Man, I don't just mod anybody. You got to come in here. You got to support the channel and by being here, right? But if you're here, totally Lucas Smith, we'll talk about it. But I gotta see you more. I gotta see you more. Dante Berry, happy Tuesday. What's good, my guy? How you doing? How you doing? I heard Max Crosby. Wait, I heard the Raiders may trade Max Crosby for Lamar Jackson. I think the trade helps both teams. All right, I mean, let's talk about that for a minute. Lamar Jackson, what would you have to give for Lamar Jackson? You would have to absolutely give your first number one pick. No, no. I know Lamar Jackson's good. I know the numbers. I see the numbers, but I also see he's a running quarterback, and running quarterbacks decline faster than pocket passers in the NFL, right? I know the numbers 40, whatever, touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Great. Absolutely great. But the offensive line he has, right? It's it's going to take us a while to get that offensive line to be that good. We're going to have to find the right coaches. I don't even know if we're trading coaches. Stay tuned. We'll get into that in a bit. Um, I don't even know if there's going to be a coaching change in the building. So to get Lamar Jackson, it would take Max Crosby trade. And I heard somebody say, which is absolutely ridiculous, Max Crosby for Lamar Jackson and swap picks. Nah, bro. You nah. No. 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 I'm not trading Max Crosby for Lamar Jackson. There's no way. Lamar Jackson is been injured all season with hamstrings, and once you get those, they don't go away. Once you tear your hamstring at that age, when you're constantly running around being a mobile quarterback, it's not good. Now, if you could get him to be a pocket passer and stand in the pocket and throw the ball, I mean that's decent also. But he throws better on the run. Most of his plays are making plays with his legs and on the run. And how much longer can Lamar Jackson do that? I mean, they can't win a playoff game. He's got Jim Harbaugh, or John Harbaugh, one of the best coaches in the NFL over there, and they just can't get over the hump. So sometimes in the NFL, players reach their potential, right? They max out, they hit their ceiling, and I think Lamar is there. I don't think there's room for improvement. I think what we see is what we get. And I don't know if switching teams is the right move for him, changing offensive coordinators. He's been in that system for so long. And I don't see how getting rid of a franchise player for a quarterback is going to help this team get better, right? That changes up your draft, that changes up your strategy for, if you change head coaches, it changes up a lot. And Lamar Jackson is a great player, but I would much rather take a quarterback in the first round this year or next year than to go get, a guy that's been in the NFL as long as he has, taking the beatings he has. I paid to take that Oakland Raiders shit down. What? I paid to take that Oakland Raiders shit down, be a shit show. You didn't pay nothing, and I ain't taking nothing down, bro. Got me screwed up. Rosetown in the building. What it do? Go Ravens. I will pay you to take that Oakland stuff down. Nah, bro, you couldn't pay me enough. Couldn't pay me enough. I mean, you could pay me to take it down. I'm gonna put it right back up. Shit. Depending on how much money you got. Shit. You got enough money. Shit. My Cash App's in my links. Lamar Jackson gotta go. I mean, if you look at his weapons, though, if you look at his tight end, right, getting up there, you got Zay Flowers, you got a couple, up and coming young guys, but I just feel like that the Ravens haven't built around Lamar, right, and now their defense is starting to play good, which has been their problem the whole time, and now their offense struggles. So, you know, we'll see how it goes in the offseason. But I think if anybody was to go get Lamar, it would be a team like the Jets, right, with 3 first-round picks. It would be a team like the Cardinals. That would be, you could throw in a first-round pick in Tyler Murray for Lamar Jackson. I think that would be a hell of a trade. I don't know if it would help the Ravens at all, but they could battle it out with the backup they got over there, who played pretty well when Lamar was gone. Raiders are trash, have been for a while. Yep. Only way to go is up, my guy. You can't stay on the bottom forever, unless you just lay down and die. Lamar is going to the Jets. See, I mean that makes sense, right? The Jets they got 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years. They got 3 this year and 2 next year. If anybody would go get Lamar Jackson, I would see it being the Jets, like I said, or possibly the Cardinals. That makes sense. Also, don't put the Cowboys out of that. I mean, don't be surprised if you hear a Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson trade with some picks thrown in there. Knowing Jerry Jones, I wouldn't be surprised. I think Dak Prescott, it's probably time to move on in Dallas. It just hasn't worked there. He's given it his all. He's being hurt. He's done everything. He just can't get over the hump with that team. And they just released Stephon Diggs. So, God. All right, not Stephon, but the other Diggs. I'd roll with AOC as the starter next year and have Mendoza or Moore developing. Here's the thing, though. The chances of Moore coming out in this year's draft are about as good as us making it to the playoffs next year. They're slim and none. Now, there is a possibility that his agents might be saying, look, there's only one quarterback in the first round. You're guaranteed a first-round draft pick and probably in the top 5. That's what, $40 million guaranteed, right? You're going to get probably four or 5 million, maybe $6 million a season. I don't know what the quarterback range is right now. Possibly 8, right? Maybe $8 million a season if you're picked first or second overall. That's enough money to make a kid be like, okay, I got 4 years guaranteed before my 4th-year contract is up. It might be enough to change his mind. But hopefully, the people in his ear are telling him, look at the statistics, man. Look at the statistics. Do you really want to try to be that guy, to be the only one, to have 13 snaps under your belt or 18, 15, however far they make it in the playoffs? Do you really want to be that guy to take that chance to try to beat the statistics for a guaranteed $40 million? And if the answer is yes, then he joins the draft. But we don't know yet. We still got a couple weeks, man. 2 more weeks, right? 2 more weeks. We'll find out who's declaring and who's not declaring. And then we can put more in that conversation. Because right now, the only person in that conversation is... Shit, hold up. Is the quarterbacks that are coming out. Damn it, where'd it go? Yeah, these ones. So, yeah. The only quarterbacks so far that we know, what the hell? All right, this is pissing me off. Try this again. Fucking one more time. All right, so yeah, it's Fernando Mendoza. It's the only first round, right? And then after that, you have Nussmeier. I mean, 205 pounds, 6'1", kind of that Bo Nix type, right? Then after that, you have John Mateer. There's a lot of people saying he's going to go back to Oklahoma. He don't have to come out. He don't have to declare. He can come back. Cade Klubnik, right? Another guy that's, I guess, a guarantee. Diego Pavea. I mean, come on. Carson Beck. Drew Allar. Gunnar Stockton. Taylor Green. Those are your choices at quarterback right now. So for, Dante Moore's camp is looking at that saying, well, if we come out now, a lot of people have him over Mendoza, going to the Raiders. So first overall pick, first overall money. But I just don't see Tom Brady. I don't see Spytek. I don't see anybody in that building willing to take that chance on Dante Moore this year, right? If they're going to go quarterback route, Dante Moore, I believe they wait till next year. Just my opinion. But I mean, I think the kid has all the talent in the world. I just think he's wasting his career if he comes out early. Mendoza way too risky of a pick at number one. Why would you say that? I mean, the kid don't drink, he don't smoke, he don't party. He loves football. He's just focused completely on football. You see his energy, right? Some people say he's a goofball or whatever, but to me, it's just a kid that loves God, a kid that loves football. And how could you say it's risky, right? I mean, he didn't have he didn't have the greatest year, 33 touchdowns, to whatever interceptions, seven interceptions. Not the greatest year, right? I talked about it the last two lives I did. Mendoza, if you look at his 33 touchdowns, 26 of them came against teams that weren't ranked, teams that had bad defenses, teams that probably only won, I think none of them won more than 5 or 6 games, right? So against bad teams, if you look at Mendoza against Oregon, if you look at him against Ohio State, if you look at him against Maryland, and you look at him against Penn State, he threw 7 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. So if you're looking at those numbers, then yes. But a lot of people say, oh, if you're just looking at stats, you got to look at the character. Okay. But if that's the case, then why ain't Aiden O'Connell a starter in the NFL if we're looking at character and not stats? I mean, if you want pocket passers, because right now the pocket passers are killing it in the NFL. Right? Guys standing in the pocket, throwing over the middle. First, it was Daniel Jones. Yeah, he ran just a tiny bit. Right now, the two MVP race is what? Pocket passers, dude that are willing to stand in the pocket, throw the ball over the field, right? Quick release. What the hell is that? Right? So you got Drake May, and then you got Matthew Stafford for the Rams. Those are the top quarterbacks in the league right now that are killing it. They're both pocket passers. And Mendoza is that. Raiders going nowhere soon, bro. We'll get into that too. We'll get into that because they could be going somewhere quick, or it could be taking a while. Free agent, build the O-line. Raiders are asked this year. Raiders have been asked for a couple years. You think the Steelers are going to the playoffs? Kramer. Who the hell is Kramer, bro? I believe the Steelers are going to the playoffs. Aren't they winning their division? Maybe not. I don't know. Ty Simpson is better than Mendoza. Yeah, but Ty Simpson's... I don't even think he's eligible this year, right? Is he eligible? If he is eligible, he might come out. But, I mean, it depends, right? If his coach goes somewhere else, if he stays, he's another guy that's got 13, 14 starts in his career. Like, that's not who I'm risking my future on. It's just not. Furpo in the building. Raiders. Hope the Raiders take a top-tier offensive lineman with their first pick, then go out and get Joe Burrow from the Bengals. So no. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at that. But what are you giving up? I mean, what are you giving up for Joe Burrow? How are you going to go get Joe Burrow if you take an offensive lineman with your top pick in the draft, right? If you have the first overall pick, you're not drafting an offensive lineman. So you could trade back to, whatever, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You could probably trade back and get another pick this year and a haul, but for next year. And then give all those picks for a Joe Burrow. I mean, you could turn around and do that. You could also do the same thing for Lamar Jackson. If the Raiders really were interested in Lamar Jackson, of course they wouldn't draft Fernando Mendoza. But from what I'm hearing, the little birdie in my ear says the Jets, the New York Jets, are in love with Fernando Mendoza. They are all in 100%. It just so happens they have 3 first-round picks this year. and 2 next year. So, to me, come on, man. I'm trying to get every pick I possibly can out of the New York Jets. How much do you really love Fernando Mendoza? How much are you really all in on Fernando Mendoza? Because if the Jets are all in, sitting at third, it's going to take at least 2 first rounds. Minimum, right? So you trade back to from 1 to 3, and then where else do they pick? The Cowboys pick. So wherever the Cowboys end up, right? I think 14th or something, somewhere in there. I mean, that's a haul. That's a haul right there. If you could get 2 first rounds this year and a first round possibly next year, if they want Mendoza bad enough, right? If you can get 3 first round picks, you can't turn that down. Also, the same way as if you can get somebody to call you and say, I'll give you 3 first round picks for Max Crosby, you can't turn that down either. Could you imagine the Raiders trading back the number 1 pick and getting 3 first round picks, and then somebody calling and saying, I'll give you 3 for Max? Having 6 first round picks, 3 this year, 3 next year. This team would be top in no time. But yeah, Joe Burrow makes sense, but you'd have to trade Max Crosby for a Joe Burrow, or you'd have to trade that number 1 pick for Joe, and then try to move back up into the first round possibly and get an offensive lineman. I don't know. But let's talk about offensive linemen though. Charles Grant, man, Charles Grant. Go back and watch my draft, live draft. When Charles Grant was drafted, you see me backflipping over the couch, jumping up and down, screaming. I really wanted Charles Grant on the Raiders. I think the potential from this man, the strength in this man, the upside, right? He needs to get lower center of gravity. He needs to get his pads level lower. He's way standing up too much, bending back. But once he gets his balance right, and if the Raiders get a good offensive line coach in here, Charles Grant is a starting tackle. Like I said this when we drafted him. A lot of people were like, "Oh, it's going to take time. It's going to take time, bro." With the right coach, this man probably could have started this year, maybe midway through the year. And I don't think this coaching staff has really made him better this season, right? The footwork, the footwork is there. The strength is absolutely there. I've seen this man driving dudes completely out of the screen when I'm trying to watch the all 22. I'm like, where did they go? They're not even in the picture. You can't even see them. So, man, the young man is powerful. He's strong. You have Caleb Rogers. You have JPJ, who, like I said, I love more than anything. I want JPJ to be a Raider, but I just don't know if this organization is sold on him as much as the fans are. But you got JPJ, right? That's a solid offensive line right there. With Colton Miller coming back next year, that's a tough offensive line. And do we really need to, take a chance on a tackle this year? I think we need a right tackle. But why not see if Charles Grant can play right tackle, right? If you can get him to play right tackle until Colton Miller is done in 2 more years and move over to left, get a right tackle this year and let him sit for a year or 2, or get one next year, I wouldn't be mad at that. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. But there's also a lot of guys in free agency. Let me talk about that. Oh, where's my notes? There's some cats in free agency, and I have it right here. Right here. Oh, yeah, there we go. Free agent offensive linemen under 27 years that are younger that have played 50 snaps in 2026. Those free agents are none other than center Tyler Linderbaum, right guard Ed Ingram from Houston, which is a damn good right guard, bro. If you watch that offensive line against us, the Raiders got no pressure. You got no pressure up the middle. So, Ed Ingram has had 50-plus snaps in 2026 for the Houston Texans, a free agent. You have left guard and also plays right tackle Cole Van Lanen from Jacksonville. Another another guy who has stepped up, played very well, a free agent this year. You have offensive tackle for Green Bay, Rashard Walker. Another guy that you can plug and play instantly, right? You have interior linemen, Sean Ryan out of Green Bay also. You know, look at Josh Jacobs' season. Hasn't been the greatest, but it's still I think over another 1,000 yard season. Had his first receiving touchdown 2 weeks ago. Shout out to Josh Jacobs. Finally, 4 or 5 years in the NFL, you finally get your first receiving touchdown as a back. Shout out to Josh Jacobs. But the Green Bay Packers have two offensive linemen on a solid offensive line that Jordan Love has had all day to throw, right? And I wouldn't mind having Rasheed Walker or Sean Ryan. Then you have the LA Clippers, Zion Johnson at left guard. The Raiders, if they move on from Parham in a contract year, which I believe Dylan Parham has done everything, you know, everything he deserved or everything he could do for the Raiders to try to bring him back this year and next year. In my opinion, I believe he's a serviceable left tackle that can play center, that can play right guard, that can play left guard, right. And if you bring Dylan Parham back, and he might not like it, just tell him, look, you're going to compete for this starting job, but more than likely you're going to lose it. You're going to be a backup, and it is what it is. But if you can bring in a Zion Johnson from the Clippers, man, to play next to Colton Miller with JPJ at center, then you put Caleb Rogers at the right guard spot, and then you have Charles Grant at the right tackle spot. I think this is an offensive line that competes. I'm gonna walk on the Raiders' Uncle Rico, and I'm gonna go work out this off season. Nice. And then finally, last but not least, you have Larry Bornum, Miami's right tackle, which it just so happens the Raiders need a right tackle, right? Shout out to 11 people in the building for picking up, if you're being a smarter Raider fan by watching this content, double tap the screen. Think about subscribing. Think about becoming a channel member, which not a lot goes on, but most of my videos are posted there first, and there's some stuff coming. But so yeah, man, that's what we have there. So there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 offensive linemen right there. Tyler Lindenbaum, Ed Ingram, Cole Van Lane, Rasheed Walker, Sean Ryan, Zion Johnson, and Larry Borom that could all come in and help this offensive line right away. No on Burrow. James Furpo says, why no on Burrow? Why no on Burrow? Let me know in the comments below. Are the Raiders just the Rams? Well, no. The Raiders have always been the Raiders. They've never been a Ram. They've never been the St. Louis, right? No. They are the Raiders. And the Rams are way better than us. Malik Willis is good. He definitely is, right? He's putting up starter numbers, man. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns last week, no interceptions. I think he ran for another one, I do believe. Like, he's been sitting behind some, he's been sitting behind a good quarterback for a while on a damn good staff, right? Matt LaFleur is the reason I want Mike LaFleur to be a Raider. Speaking of Mike LaFleur, boy, that name is popping all over. It's cool. I hope the Raiders get good. It's wrong. What? It's wrong to not hate Casey because they're likable, but the Raiders are so cool, and I'm so hyped the Raiders have new foundation time to rebuild the house and get the dynasty going for the Raiders. Well, to start a dynasty, we got to know who our head coach is. Shout out to my guy, Shane Butler, in the building, right? Hey, back up Dylan Gabriel, so hell no. My Steelers are another Washington Redskins. Man, Raiders are ass, bro. I get it. I get it. They're ass. But I'm loyal to the core. You still see me on here supporting my team, talking about them every single day, right? Rain, sleet, snow or shine, sun or shine, snow. It doesn't matter. Be a Niners fan. Nah, bro. Nah, I could never be a Niners fan. I don't rock that way. Just come over to the gold side. I bet y'all would love Crosby. I bet y'all would love Crosby. Speaking of Crosby, pull up tomorrow. We got some trade packages for your boy Max Crosby. You know, I was gonna bring him up tonight, but I already got some stuff to talk about. We already been in here 45 minutes, so we will get it popping tomorrow. But we got some trade packages for Crosby, and one of them includes Lamar Jackson. Do you think the Giants should draft Mendoza and have him under Dart like Eli did under Kurt Warner? Well, um, Eli was not under Kurt Warner, was he? And second of all, second off, Dart has only been in the NFL this year, right? He's a rookie, so I don't know what he's gonna teach Mendoza. And Mendoza, quarterback wise, intelligent wise, defensive reading wise, pre snap read wise, accuracy might be better than Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart's just they're two different quarterbacks. They're not even on the same level. But I don't know what Jackson Dart could possibly teach Mendoza. If I'm gonna get a Mendoza and let him sit for a year, I definitely want him under a quarterback that can help him along. And shit, I feel like Aiden's that quarterback, right? You hear all the people in the room talking about how Aiden's always helping. He's been helping both the quarterbacks. Even Kenny Pickett mentioned, how he helped him out when he got there in the building. So I'm going to cry tears of joy when the Eagles go back-to-back Super Bowls. Shane Butler, don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes up. How you still supporting the Raiders, bro? I've been a Raider fan 50 years, man. I got that shit tatted on me, dog. Like it's I love the Raiders. Win, lose, or tie, Raiders till I die, right? I know it's an old cliche saying, but I'm just hoping, and I'm loyal, man. I'm loyal to the core, right? Loyal, as loyal as it gets. Never had another team. Never had a second team in the NFL. It's been Raiders, Raiders, Raiders all day. Raiders all day, all day. Mendoza Top Gun shy, one hit wonder. Mendoza got gun shy after the NFL hit the Ohio game. Yeah, man, he didn't do well in that game, and we'll see what he does in the next game, right? If he goes out and they have another one touchdown, performance with two or three field goals. Man, that's not special. And I know these defenses in college football are the best. That's why they're in there. Defense still wins football. Whether you like quarterbacks or you don't like quarterbacks, defense always wins football. There's never been a quarterback in the history of the NFL to win a Super Bowl or playoff game without a good defense. There's been like one or two teams that have made it there with okay defenses, but they weren't bad defenses. Eagles made Allen looked like shit. They did. They did. But Josh Allen has been struggling all year. And as long as you can keep mobile quarterbacks in that cage, that if you got the personnel on defense to keep them in a cage and you can run man to man, on those corners, then you can control any mobile quarterback in the NFL. Teams do it to Lamar Jackson every single game, bro. Like, as long as you keep him contained and make him throw in the pocket and make quick decisions and quick reads, you got him beat most of the time. Any quarterback would be an upgrade for y'all. Rich Gannon, shout out to Rich Gannon, the GOAT. Too bad about that neck injury, man. Could have had our own little run there. Kirk Cousins, no. The Bears look What? Malik Willis, Raiders haven't won a Super Bowl in 41 years. Yeah, but we got three, bro. So there's still teams like the Chargers that don't even have one. So, you come in here and try to bring me down, but it ain't gonna work. Laughing my ass off. Let's get donkeys going. All right, man. So Raiders. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. I think your mom farted, Chris. You might want to go check. But let's talk about this. Pete Carroll, man. Pete Carroll. This is the other bad news. Not good news, not good news. And I've told you before, and I keep telling y'all when everybody else is telling you Pete Carroll is done. Pete Carroll is out of the building. They're already looking for new coaches. That's what I hear. They're thinking about new coaches, but there is also a scenario that happened the other day where Max Crosby got sent home. And the one guy that kept saying, I was talking to him all day long. We've been texting back and forth. I'm so upset, just like Max is upset, right? Is Pete Carroll. And if Pete Carroll can continue to convince Max Crosby that he is the way, that this season was just, a bunch of mishaps that he can't phantom in his mind, right? He doesn't have enough room in his brain to figure out how it went so bad. If he can continue to preach and convince and brainwash Max Crosby that this team can turn around, Max Crosby can keep Pete Carroll's job. And I've talked about it before. If Max Crosby believes, like he says, he's not here for another rebuild. The only reason he came back this year was for stability. The only reason he wants to be a Raider is to win a Super Bowl and to be the greatest to ever live, right? If Pete Carroll is fired, there is a very, very high percentage that Max Crosby is not a Raider next year. And I know people don't want to hear this. But Pete Carroll coming back might be the only way to keep Max Crosby in the building. Because from what I'm hearing is if Pete Carroll is fired and they move on from Pete Carroll, Max might have some decisions to make, right? Does he want to go through another rebuild? Does he want to be promised a bunch of lies and bullshit from another head coach that can't deliver what they say they're going to deliver, right? Does he want to go through all that? So these are the questions that I'm hearing. And no, I don't know Max Crosby, but I know people that, that talk to people that know people, circle people, right? So from what I'm hearing is that is still the conversation. So there's a reason why Pete Carroll stands up on his podium and says, everything's good with Mark Davis. I talked to Tom Brady on the daily, right? I text Max Crosby 15 times yesterday. There's a reason. There's a reason Pete Carroll still thinks his job is good. He has a crutch. He has a fallback. And whether the Raiders might have to make a choice. Do we want Max Crosby? Or is it worth getting rid of Pete Carroll and seeing what you can get from Max Crosby if that's the way he wants to go? Because we heard Max Crosby, stick up for a coach before and say, I might have to contemplate my decisions with the Las Vegas Raiders if Antonio Pierce does not come back as the head coach next year, right? We heard that. And he's not going out and publicly saying that this year because he made that mistake last time. But from what I'm hearing, that might be the case this year, right? So, good news and bad news. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised is if they start interviewing coaches and they tell Pete Carroll, look, this is what we're doing. In the off season, we're interviewing coaches. Whether you want to quit or not, that's up to you. But we are going to interview coaches. We're going to talk to other coaches. It is not a tampering. I don't know if he agrees, right? They do interviews. Maybe nobody wants this job. Maybe Pete Carroll's the only one left. Or maybe it's Patrick Graham, right? And speaking of Patrick Graham, we'll get to that here in a minute. But there is a lot bigger possibility of Pete Carroll coming back. Hondo Carpenter is not standing up there going to bat every single time he does a live talking about, the chance that Pete Carroll could come here. The remaining factors are There are owners in the building that believe it's time to go get a new head coach, and we will talk about that here in a second. Who the two main head coaches are that I believe a lot of people are overlooking, and I'm going to tell you why before I end this live. So stay tuned. But as far as that goes, there are two owners, three, four, however minority owners we have right now that are rumored to not be on the same page as Mark Davis with the Pete Carroll situation, and it's time to move on. It didn't work out, right? There was a lot of promises not kept, a lot of promises not made, a lot of things said that weren't delivered. And there's one guy that wanted Pete Carroll in the building. That was Mark Davis. And Mark Davis is still talking to Pete Carroll on the daily. He is still has faith in Pete Carroll can turn this thing around because Pete Carroll is pointing fingers like he did in his press conference today. Well, the game was close. It was 20-10. Come on, man. When have we ever been close in a game that we can come back at 20-10? Bullshit. Pete Carroll is feeding us lies. But he got on, he got on the JT and the Brick show and said, "Oh, we were close, 20-10. We scored. We were getting up there." Nah, bro, you were down. You were down more than that. You scored a touchdown or a field goal, and you made it 20-10. And then they came back and they ran the kickoff back for a touchdown. Weren't you the guy that fired Tom McMahon, the special teams coordinator, because you believed in the guy that you just hired and put in that position, who has not been any better than Tom McMahon, right? Didn't you bring in a new offensive coordinator and promote Ole to the offensive coordinator and get rid of Pete Carroll because Pete Carroll was not the man? I mean, Chip Kelly, because Chip Kelly was not your guy and Chip Kelly was not the man. Greg Olsen might be doing a little bit better, but not much better than Chip Kelly, right? There was still games where they had 3 touchdowns. Geno threw for 3 touchdowns. Maybe had 3 interceptions the next week. But there were still games where Geno had decent games, better than he's having under Greg Olsen. So Pete Carroll has pointed the finger, constantly pointed the finger. And I believe that Mark Davis is, needs somebody to believe in and something to believe in. And he trusts Pete Carroll, or he wouldn't have brought him into this position, right? Pete Carroll talked about Al Davis and how he respects Al Davis and respects the culture and this organization and what Al Davis did. And maybe that's enough to get into Mark Davis's head to say, I'm not paying another coach and letting this man sit at home for free and take my money. Let's see what he has one more year. What do we have to lose? I mean, really, what do we have to lose, right? So there's that going in the building. So that's not a guarantee that we get a Mendoza, that we get a new head coach, and this organization changes. It is far from a guarantee. There are stipulations, and like the title says, it's not good news. If Pete Carroll somehow goes out there with Aiden O'Connell and beats the Kansas City Chiefs and sells it to Mark Davis, I can win with Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell is better than I thought. Let's get rid of Geno. Let's make the nation happy. Let's roll with Aiden O'Connell for a year, and then let's see what we do next year, and let's trade back that first overall pick. Just remember that. So that's what I'm hearing is there's a lot of talk that there is still that small possibility, but that possibility is getting bigger with the scenario of the draft, the way it's coming down, the way it's going. There's one more person left that Pete Carroll has to point the finger at and blame for the way this team has played this year. And that person is none other than Patrick Graham. Patrick Graham is still in the building. If he goes to Mark Davis and sells the fact that look at Patrick Graham's defense, look at the results he's got you for the last 4 years. Look at where you're at. He's the problem. I misread it. I misjudged like I did the whole entire offense, like I did the whole entire team, right? I misjudged. We brought Patrick Graham. Maybe Patrick Graham wasn't the decision of Pete Carroll, right? Maybe Pete Carroll saying, look, you gave me Patrick Graham. It didn't work. I can't do that. Let me get my own defensive coordinator. Let me get my own offensive coordinator. Let me get my own staff and give me one more year. So Just remember that. Just remember that. Eagles defending Super Bowl champions will repeat and win their third Super Bowl in 8 years. That's a hot take. That's a hot take, but I don't know. Say go Raiders, foe. What? 101 in the building. Y'all getting sniped. Y'all better watch your mouths in here. If you haven't noticed lately, first round quarterbacks ain't been working out so good. Bro, Steelers fan. If I haven't noticed, do you hear me not on the Mendoza train? Look, there's a train and it's called Trade Back. And when you look at the front of that bitch, you see me boop, boop, pulling the horn, driving that train. I've been on that train for the last 2 years. Trade back, trade back, trade back. I get it. I get it. First round pick quarterbacks do not pan out. And if they do, it's 7, 8 years down the road. Raiders don't have 7 or 8 years. Raiders don't have 3 years. The Raiders need to start winning now. They need to turn it around quick, do a full rebuild. I was supposed to get on last night. I had some issues. I didn't get to get back on. So I'm not probably going back on tonight, but tomorrow we will go over this roster sometime this week before the Kansas City game. We will break down this roster more than likely tomorrow, unless I get a wild hair up my ass and pop back on after this live. But the roster doesn't look good, man. It doesn't look good. There's 32 players that we could bring that that have contracts. Most of them are one more year, and then we have 23 free agents that are all 1 year contracts pretty much. And out of those guys, there might be two, possibly three, that I would even entertain bringing back. So this team has a lot of needs, and a quarterback is not it. So yes, I have noticed. I noticed that you beat me, James. Snipe, snipe, snipe. Let's go, Queefs. Nah, bro. You will never get me to say that, no matter how bad I want the number one pick. I can't do it. I can't, bro. Can't do it, bro. Can't. It would take 3 more first round picks for Lamar. 3 more? 3 more. So you're saying, well, I know it'd take at least two, but you're saying the first overall pick from the Raiders, I, they'd be stupid to trade that for Lamar, right? It makes way more sense to trade back with the Jets, let them get Mendoza, get more picks, and then you have draft capital to go get Lamar if that's the way you want to go. Because you're right, it's going to take minimum 2 first rounds with probably a player and all kinds of picks. Damn, a whole bunch of people getting sniped. It'd be a lot more than just Crosby. For Lamar, I think it would be Crosby, and we could probably get away with Crosby in the first round next year, depending on where they go, where the Ravens draft is. I think they're still in a playoff contention, so I think anywhere from 16 to 20 they could possibly be in the draft. That's high up there, right? You're not going to get your quarterback in there if you do trade a quarterback. So like I said, it would have to be a quarterback for a quarterback. Maybe they go out and swing for the fences and go get a Justin Fields to be a bridge for a year and get rid of Lamar. See, right? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Getting rid of Lamar doesn't make sense, even if they get 3 first rounds, to me. I'd move on from the coaching staff before I did that. Maybe it's just time, right? That he just hasn't got him over the hump. Crosby ain't worth Lamar. What has Crosby done to take the Raiders to the playoffs? What has Lamar done? What has Lamar done? How many playoff victories they got? Come on. I know he's put up a whole bunch of points, but wasn't it Travis Henry that was running the ball for 200 yards in a playoff game, in the playoffs? Isn't it Travis Henry that's running for 150 yards a game and 3 touchdowns? I'm not saying Lamar doesn't do it all, but man, their special teams, right? Their defense. And Lamar has taken that team to the playoffs, but also they got a coach, a stability. They've had the same head coach since he's been with the Ravens. I think Todd Monken's been the offensive coordinator almost the whole time. Maybe 2 years not. So, you know, they got stability there. They got stability there, but it just depends, right? If the Ravens think, man, this quarterback we could get the same out of another guy or a guy that they have in the building, and they're just a one defensive piece away, and Max Crosby is that defensive piece. I could see him swapping, but you're right. It would definitely take more than Max. Y'all the winners of the Tank Bowl because y'all got the first round pick. Well, we don't absolutely have it yet, right? It's not ours. I mean, it's sitting in our hands. We're holding it. We're just holding it for somebody. But we do have an opportunity to have it. Don't think Vegas is the right city for Lamar Jackson. I don't. I agree 100%. I don't either. Get rid of Crosby. Why would you say that, Mark Paint Doctor? Mark Paint Doctor. That's a weird name. Why would you say get rid of Crosby? Lions are better. NFL not for long. Exactly. Lamar Jackson is not the right move. I don't believe so either. I don't believe any quarterback that's on the decline. He hit his peak. He had his 2 3 years where he was great, and then this injury, and he could be that quarterback again next year. I'm not saying that, but for this year, and the year last year, and in the playoffs, that team just can't get it together. And I know it's not all Lamar. I mean, if he had a Justin Jefferson over there, or if he had a Brock Bowers, I think those playoff games might have went a little different for Lamar. But their defense gives up 40 points a game. So, I mean, the problem is Crosby loves Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll is garbage. I think that's a huge problem. But Crosby also loved Gardner Minshew, had him on his show, said he's going to be the savior, right? Gardner Minshew's the man. He also loved Antonio Pierce and said, I might think about quitting and going to another team if Antonio Pierce ain't here. That didn't work out. He also said Geno Smith is what the Raiders have needed, right? We need that quarterback. He's the hardest working quarterback I've ever seen. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever seen. And now you see Max Crosby every time Geno does something stupid go, right? So Max has vouched for a lot of guys that have not turned out to work very good. And if he vouches for Pete Carroll, I believe it's going to do the same thing next year. It's not going to work out very good. The game has passed Pete Carroll by. He is too old. His cover three doesn't work. He's not willing to change his ways. And when you're a man that's 74 years old and you're stuck in a philosophy from 1939 and it doesn't work anymore, and you are not willing to change or bring in guys on your staff that you can listen to that have knowledge of football that could help change it around, and you have your way or the highway, it is not going to rebuild any team at 74 years old. Pete Carroll is not a rebuild coach. Now, if you was to say John Harbaugh gets fired, right? Some crazy reason from the Baltimore Ravens, Pete Carroll would be a great fit over there. I believe Pete Carroll could walk right into the Baltimore Ravens and have them in the playoffs and possibly win a couple games, right? Because they have most of the things he needs, right? The quarterback, the offensive line, they have a running game, and he can bring in and fix the defense. And if he went to the Steelers, I believe with the shit they got over there, Pete Carroll could possibly turn them around. I just think this team was way too far off, and he was way in over his head, and he totally misjudged this roster, the players, the staff he brought in, the staff that was already here, and it was just over his head. So he's not garbage. He's somebody that's stuck in his ways and is not willing to change. And you have to be willing to adapt in the NFL. The NFL, like I said last night, right? For 3 years, it'll be a run offense where every team in the NFL is running the hell out of the ball and they beat you with the long pass. The last couple of years, it has been short passes, right? Short dink and dunk, get yards after the catch, move the chains, get to the red zone, pound the rock, score points, win games, defend with defense. Then the following year, it was, for the next 3 years after that, everybody was all about, the Tampa 2 defense. Then everybody's all about, disguising cover fours and cover threes and Now everybody's running cover two and keeping two safeties back to stop the pass. And now the runs are starting to develop in the NFL. It's a always adapting and ever changing fucking game. And if people don't adapt, Belichick, Pete Carroll, Mike Tomlin, right? If you're not changing your ways and you're not willing to adapt with the times and you're stuck in a timeline, it's just not going to be good. It's not going to be good. This is an offensive league. You can have a bum no player on defense. Just look at Houston. I mean, I don't think they have a bunch of bum no players, right? They have, come on, they have Will Anderson drafted fourth overall. I mean, they have um, who's the other dude? Hunter on the other side, right? That defensive line is stout. They have fast linebackers, that can cover sideline to sideline. They can cover linebacker, or they can cover tight ends. They can cover the running backs, and they have damn good corners. Their corners can play one on one, and that's why they're winning. So you don't have to have top players, but you're right. If you look at the NFL and you look at the history of the NFL, no team has ever won the Super Bowl having your highest paid players on the defensive side of the ball. It doesn't happen. Most defenses that win the Super Bowl, look at the Giants, look at the Patriots, look at the Kansas City Chiefs the last couple years, right? Yes, they played, they played Chris Jones, paid him a lot of money. But come on, you got guys like Stefanowski or whatever the linebacker's name is. Um, a lot of the Chiefs' defense is young guys drafted early, second, third round. UDFAs, they don't really go get a lot of free agents, right? Because free agents are what? They're guys that somebody else didn't want, unless they're top paid free agents. Then they're guys that somebody couldn't afford. So there's only two things you get from a free agent. You get a player that wasn't good enough to be on that team, or wasn't a good enough fit, or you get a player that team can't afford because of their cap space. Which one is it? And it's hard to tell, right? Because some players be like, man, I want more money. Some players are good and they just, they don't have great years and they want more money and they think they're, worth more than they get. Well, then somebody will pay that. Somebody will pay that in the NFL. So free agent is not always the way to build a team. I hear everybody say, just go draft your quarterback and build the O-line in free agency. Well, I just gave you 5 or 7 of the top offensive linemen. And I don't think, unless you get 2 of those guys, they're going to change this offensive line around with the coaching staff and the coaches we have. Dude, it's good to hear news about the Raiders. What news? What news? What news? Get a quarterback in the first round and trade Max Crosby. I mean, it's a good story. It's a good story. It's a good story. I'm not taking What quarterback? What quarterback in the first round? Mendoza? So you're telling me at number 1, you would be willing to take a chance on a quarterback first overall when the percentage chance of them succeeding is like 10 in 1,000 or 10 in 500? Come on, man. Go back and watch my live from 2 days ago. We talked about every NFL quarterback drafted in the last 25 years. Out of those 25 quarterbacks, they only have 35 playoff wins. Tom Brady drafted in the 6th round, and Brock Purdy drafted in the 7th round have 39 combined playoff wins between them two. 7th round and 6th round. Between those two players, they have a combined 39 playoff wins and 7 Super Bowls because Tom Brady's got them all. But if you look at the last 25 years and the first overall quarterbacks drafted, they only have 37 playoff wins combined. And 3 of those pretty much own all those playoff wins. Only 2 of them, Jared Goff and Joe Burrow, have even been to a Super Bowl. They both lost, I do believe. So taking a quarterback, number 1 overall, just because the Raiders need a quarterback and you haven't drafted one in 18 years since whatever, since 2008, right? Just because of that, you take Mendoza. I don't think that's not good enough for me. It's not good enough for me. Did you hear about Diggs' brother, Travion, released and Stefan is facing charges? Yeah, bro. Travion is. I'd go get him. I mean, I don't know why you pick him up right now, but it makes sense. It makes sense to go pick him up off of waivers, sign him to a 1 year deal so you have him through the offseason. And if anything, he comes in and he changes and he becomes a better player. But Stephon Diggs in Las Vegas just doesn't, I mean, it just doesn't sound good. It doesn't, I mean, Travion Diggs in Vegas, I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a great match, in my opinion. You know, the limelights of Vegas. But the football player, if it wasn't Vegas, I would take, and I'd take a chance on him anyways because you never know. And if Pete Carroll sticks around another year, Stephon Diggs could, or Trevon Diggs could be definitely a guy that, you know, Pete Carroll could turn around like he did Adam Butler, like he did Devin White, like he did Eric Stokes. I mean, Pete Carroll has done some good. As far as Stephon Diggs goes, you know damn well that girl wanted to be choked, man. Come on, don't even act like it. She was like, "Choke me, daddy, choke me," and then ran to the cops and was like, "No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't know what the reports are on Stephen Diggs, man. But it doesn't sound good. Strangulation charges are a bad, bad thing, especially if your fingerprint marks are on their neck. But come on, I don't know. I don't know. But that was the first thing I thought came to mind. I was like, you know, you know what happened there. But no, I'm just joking, man. Don't get all butthurt. Lamar was a good choice, but now it's time to move on from anything but a rookie quarterback or a rookie contract to build our team. The Raiders need a franchise quarterback, and it definitely needs to be a rookie, unless you know Tom Brady sees something in one of these players in free agency that says, "Bro, I could fix this dude. I'm gonna spend more time in this building. I'm gonna work the whole entire offseason with this young man, and we are gonna turn him in to the next big thing." Could happen, could happen. But I have this feeling right here, right? 50 years of being a Raider fan, you start to have, you know, intuitions and feel shit. And I just feel like a quarterback in the first pick is not going to be it. And there's going to be a lot of butthurt Raider Nation fans. Raider Nation, baby. Mark Pink Doctor was good. Did you hear the good news about the Raiders? What good news? What good news? What good news? Please tell me. Simply trolling? You're just going to keep trolling. Damn. Whatever, taking a Ravens crab, get the hell out of the Raiders forever. What? Who's ever taken a Ravens crab, get the hell out of here, Raiders forever. Right? Old talks, Mendoza for the win. Let me know why. Let me know why in the comments. Don't just come in here and be like, take Mendoza because he's the only first round quarterback to take, man. If that's the case, his value goes up. Raiders need value. A quarterback just doesn't make sense. I don't know why you keep listening to all these other people that keep trying to tell you the Raiders, it's time, we can't pick anything else but a quarterback. Man, I just don't feel that. I guess Max Crosby has just seen Old Detroit, Rock City sometimes, never the last 48 hours. Just even think played good all year. And that's why you don't get a quarterback. Are you really going to bring in a first-round quarterback and say, yo, you were picked first overall. We need you to get 7, 8, 9 wins your rookie year. We're putting it all on your shoulder. No pressure, dog. No pressure, no pressure. You're coming from Indiana? You ever been to Indiana? Anybody? I've been to Indiana. Have you ever been to Indiana and Las Vegas? Have you ever been to Indiana and Las Vegas on weed? No, I'm just kidding. But have you ever been to Indiana or Las Vegas? Both? It's night and day, bro. It's night and day. You're going to take this man from Indiana life and put him with shit he's never seen before in his lifetime in Las Vegas. Just walking down the strip. You're going to see things that you ain't never seen before. If you go a little farther down to the Fremont Street experience, you're going to see some shit you ain't never seen in Indiana. and your Christian ass probably might not might not ever get off your knees when you get back home. You be praying so much. So I don't know if Vegas is quite the place for Mendoza, bro. I don't know. I just don't feel it. Leave Crosby in Detroit, get a first round pick. I, a lot of fans seem to want to trade Crosby, bro. I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised at y'all. I didn't think there'd be that many people that were, willing to move on from Crosby. And let me know the reason. Was it the fact that he didn't show up for the game when he's a captain? Is it his leadership skills? Is it just because he's hurt every year for the last 2 years? He's gonna need surgery. Let me know your reason. Double tap the screen, like, subscribe, follow, tickle the notification button. It turns it on so you be notified when I go live. But let me know your reasons. Let me know your reasons, because usually when I talk about Max Crosby, everybody leaves my chat. They're like, "Oh my God, he's talking about Max again, the great God Max Crosby." So, kind of find it weird. Max is a crybaby. Okay. Lamar probably going to Miami. That's a hot take. That's a hot take right there. Miami could take a chance. But did you see the way Carson Beck played? I mean, not Carson Beck. Was Quinn Ewers. Why do I get Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers mixed up? Does anybody think they're like the same person? Is it just me? For some reason, I think Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers are the same person. I always thought one was at Georgia, one was at Texas. I always get them mixed up. I'm always flip flopping them. Is it just me? Maybe me. I smoke a lot of dabs, so I don't know. But Lamar Jackson to Miami could be a good point. But if Quinn Ewers comes out and plays like he did this week, like he did last week, Miami might not be looking for a quarterback, but they might be willing to look to move one or release one. I mean, you could trade him away like the Broncos and like the excuse me, like the Seattle Seahawks did for Russell Wilson, right? You could trade him to the Broncos, get a whole big bag over there. Um, I don't know how big of a bag you're going to get for Tua Vailoa. I'm sure with his injury history, not too many teams are going to be willing to pay that price. You could also look at, I think but that's a hot take. Lamar would kill it in Miami. Absolutely kill it. I think I think that's where he needs to go. I mean, with Waddle, come on. With the running game and Acne, or what the heck, I always pronounce his name wrong. Um, but with the running back they got over there, with Tyreek starting to maybe come back, the defense has been playing solid. You got a good piece in Darren Waller, right? If he could stay healthy, I mean, bro, Miami and Lamar might take over, feed families for a little bit, take over the NFL. Lamar ain't going nowhere. Stop. I don't know. Relationships get severed, man. They get severed, and when you get to that, when you take your team to as far as it can get, and then the next year you're bad. Some teams just say, "Man, we had our run. It's time to blow it up. Let's start to rebuild through the draft, right?" And maybe it's with Harbaugh, maybe it's not. Go Bills! All the new ones in the chat. Let's hit that like button. Yes, please. Double tap the screen. Let YouTube know you picking up what I'm putting down. Guess my favorite team. We have a trash defense and offense is stacked. Two good receivers. The Bengals? to Bengals? Ding, 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 ding. You're the winner, right? Come on, man. Come on. That was too easy, bro. That was too easy. If it's not the Bengals, let me know, because I just don't know who else it could be. ESPN showed clips of Travis Kelce in a workout of Boston Bruins today. I seen that yesterday. Who was in the chat trolling yesterday that said that? I can't get over him looking into the NHL. I think it's awesome, bro. I think it's awesome. I'm not a Travis Kelce fan because he plays for the Chiefs, but I think that would be a huge, huge story for Travis Kelce to leave the NFL with all the rings he's got, the dynasty they're in, to go play hockey where he could punch people in the mouth, fight, scrap. Bro, I like it. I like it. I like it. And I might even be rooting for, old Kelsey over there to get on the ice. AOC question. Question about what? What's the question? AOC is my dog. It's a backup quarterback. What? Trying to send people over here to talk football. Appreciate you. Truth, I like the Dolphins. Bro, I like the Dolphins. You like the Dolphins? Nice. You're a Cowboys fan? Nice. Shout out to the Cowboys fans, the Donkeys fans, the every fan in the building. We don't discriminate over here. We rock silver and black. But as long as you're respectful, we could all get along. We could all get along. How about them mofo Broncos? Unless you say shit like that. No, I'm just kidding. LOL, bad quarterback class this year. Build the team, then go for Arch. Man, I like Bronco fans already. Bronco fan comes in here. He's got a plan, right? He's got his mind made up. He knows the draft sucks. He knows Mendoza isn't the way. There's only one good quarterback. Shout out to my guy Jonathan in the building. Appreciate you. Good comment, man. I like it. Yes, absolutely 100%. Except for the top part. Nah, how about them Broncos, bro? How about them Broncos? They are nice. And, if the Raiders decide to go defensive head coach, I wouldn't mind Vance Joseph. And since we're on that subject of head coach, this is the next segment. So coming up here on Raiders Unleashed, who are my sneaky coaches this year? Two. I'm going to give you two. I'm going to give you two names, and then I'm going to tell you why, right? And the first one is Brian Flores, and the connection is with Tom Brady. And I'm going to tell you the second one for offensive coordinator, and that is coming up after this ad break. There ain't no ad break. But it was funny, right? So, Brian DeBall, bro. Brian Flores, both. One DC head coach, and the other one OC. And let me tell you why. Sit down, pull up a chair, light your, whatever you do. Pour you a glass, sit down and relax, and let's learn a little something, right? Because I constantly tell you, if you come on this channel on a daily basis, you're going to learn something. Might have already known, might not have known, but you're going to learn something, right? So, let's talk about it. Let's get to it. Like to hear it. Here it go. That's not the right page, but this one is. So Brian DeBall and Brian Flores, and let me tell you why. This should be the coaching staff for the Las Vegas Raiders. They should go no other way around it, right? Flores spent 15 years. I don't think it was quite that long. This might be a typo, but I might be wrong. 15 years in the Patriots organization at various personnel positions, right? 2004 to 2026, he was the scouting assistant and pro scout for Tom Brady's Patriots, right? 2008 to 2010, he was the special teams assistant and offensive assistant. You know that guy that Tom Brady talks about all the time that would lay out all the teams they were facing, right? Get everything ready for them, have everything planned out so he could just come in and watch the videos. Wonder who that guy was. So, Brian Flores, 2008, 2010, special teams assistant and offensive assistant. Or Tom Brady's assistant. Do we know? I don't know. Do you know? Let me know in the comments. 2011 to 2018. Shout out to everybody in the building. Double tap screen. Defense coaching roles included defensive assistant, safeties coach, 2012 to 2015. Also included linebackers coach, 2016 to 2018. Brian Flores. Also, he assumed defensive play calling duties in the final season of 2018, which accumulated in a Super Bowl victory of the hell. I don't even know my Roman numerals. What's L3? Super Bowl what? I don't know. God, I have no idea. 33? Shit, I don't know. Anyways, which culminated in a victory in the Super Bowl. And then he left to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, right? So Brian Flores has his time with Tom Brady. Also, learned from Bill Belichick, took his knowledge from the defense he gained, was on offense. A lot of people don't know that Brian Flores was an offensive assistant and was a special teams assistant. So he knows both sides of the ball. Very smart man. We see what he's doing in Minnesota. It just makes sense, right? It just makes sense. Um, he went on to move on with the Dolphins. He is now, like I said, the DC for the Minnesota Vikings. And the Minnesota Vikings, if they want to keep Brian the ball, I mean, Flores, Brian Flores, they're going to have to pull the trigger and sign this man to a huge contract. But will he sign the contract? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are already, you know, putting little tidbits out there to people he knows saying, hey, look, this team might be giving you a call in the offseason. You can't do tampering, right? But there's nothing against, having a little birdie in your ear and knowing some information. So next up, Brian DeBall as the offensive coordinator. He had two different separate stints with the New England Patriots for a total of 11 years. From 2000 to 2006, he was the defensive assistant and wide receivers coach, right? In 2013, he came back to 2016, was the offensive assistant and tight ends coach. He helped Rod Gronkowski to two to All Pro honors, and he earned two Super Bowl rings during that tenure with the New England Patriots. What does all this have to do with the Las Vegas Raiders? Well, the Las Vegas Raiders need a head coach, possibly if they decide to move on from Pete Carroll. Brian Flores could be that guy, right? There's ties there with Tom Brady. There's times there with Belichick. There's ties there with the Patriot way that all of a sudden Mike Vrabel comes in, another defensive coach, right, that played for the Patriots, comes in and takes this team from worst in the NFL to a playoff and top in their division over the Buffalo Bills, who have dominated that division for many, many, many moons, right? So you put that together. Brian Flores makes all the sense in the world. Mark Davis has said over and over again, Tom Brady is going to be a big part of this team, and Tom Brady is going to make a lot of decisions in this team, whether it's quarterback, whether it's offensive coordinator, like he did this last time around, whether it's the head coach. Tom Brady is going to be more hands-on than he was last year. He even said it himself. He's going to be more involved with the Raiders. That means probably picking the head coach or being involved in it. So if Tom Brady is involved, look for Brian Flores to be tops on that list. Another name I'm hearing, of course, is Jesse Minter. Have those ties with the Michigan things, right? Could happen, could not happen. I gave y'all in my last live 2 days ago my top 7 coaches, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and head coach to pair together. Go back and watch that. Make your own decisions. But Brian DeBall, we know what he's done when he was with the Buffalo Bills. We've seen what he did with Josh Allen, right? Josh Allen was a turnover machine, was constantly just run the ball, throw it downfield, get an interception. Brian Dayball, however you say his name, Brian Dayball was the guy behind that. Brian Dayball was also the guy that decided to move up and get a Jackson Dart. He is a quarterback whisperer. This man knows quarterbacks. If you're going quarterback this round, or possibly trying to see what you have in Cam Miller, right, for this year, make him your number 2. Make Aiden O'Connell number 1. Make him number 2. And not even bringing a veteran unless you have to. You just go draft one, right? If the season falls apart, man, it falls apart. What do we have to lose at this point? But if you bring in a guy, sorry, I got to plug this phone in. If you bring in a guy like Brian DeBall that knows how to get the best out of quarterbacks, who knows how to run an offense, who knows how to be a head coach. I mean, the man's been a head coach. And if you can get 2 head coaches in the building on a team that needs a rebuild, that is the highest percentage for your chances to work. If you don't believe me, go back and look at the Washington Redskins. Right? They brought in the head coach. They went and got, Cliff Kingsbury. They brought him in, a former head coach in the NFL. They went and got their running game coordinator and running backs coach was also a former head coach in the NFL with the Dolphins, I do believe. So you have three head coaches in that building, and if it wasn't for injuries, that team in their first year of taking over that team made it to the NFC Championship game against the Eagles and were this far away from a Super Bowl. So if you take Brian Flores and you go and swing for the fences and get and get Brian Dayball as your offensive coordinator, yes, you're gonna have to pay some money, but I promise you, it'll probably be less to pay Brian Flores and Brian DeBall than it is Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly, right? That was 18, 21, 21 to $22 million for those two coaches for the product we got on the field. So those are my number one coaches that I would love to bring in if you're the Las Vegas Raiders. And we have the money, right? We have the money to hire those guys. Can you sell it to them? I don't know. But you can also sell, the fact to Brian DeBall. Do you want to go be another head coach right away? Are you going to get offers to be a head coach right away? And if you don't get offers, come be the offensive coordinator. If Brian Flores doesn't work out, you're next on the line, right? Put it in your contract. If this doesn't work out, you get the next shot, right? And that's how you get people to come in. And then if you go that route, you're going with the defensive minded head coach, which I think we need an offensive minded head coach. Everybody knows I'm on the Mike LaFleur train. And if you watch anything about sports, it's crazy that everybody all of a sudden is talking about Mike LaFleur. Well, go back and watch my videos from 2 years ago. I've been talking about Mike LaFleur. If you go offense, that's my number one guy. But if you're going defense and you're trying to just bring in an offensive coordinator, that is your best plan. Flores, the ball, you have your quarterback whisperer. You can go get your quarterback, but you can go get your quarterback next year, and you can use the defensive strategy from your defensive coordinator and Brian Flores, and you take that number one pick and you trade back and you let him go get you a CJ Allen. You let him go get you a Rodriguez at linebacker. You let him go get you an Arvell Reese, right? You let him build your defense. And then the next year, when you have all those first round picks that you got from trading this number one pick back, then you go and you get your quarterback next year and you let the ball choose that guy, right? So you tell these dudes, Brian Flores, this year's yours. We got the number one pick. You do what you want. We want to trade back. We want more capital, but trade it back. You have this year's draft to build your side of the ball. Next year, we're giving it to the ball. We're going offense. And I believe within 2 years, this Raiders team would be competitive as hell and, battling for playoff position. So let me know how y'all feel. Thumbs up, thumbs down, what y'all thinking. If you like it, if you don't like it. How about them Broncos? I got to that, the Dolphins. But let me know how you feeling about that. But really, Raiders, if you watching, bro, just bring me in the building. Bring me in the building. You don't have to listen to me. Just let me give you ideas. And I've been doing this shit for a long, long time. I'm telling you. That's all I do is watch football. I got no life, bro. I'm a football junkie. And ever since I started doing YouTube, I've been more of a football junkie because I used to just be a Raider football junkie. But now I got to know everything because I got to know how we get better. Tom Brady bringing in his buddy Belichick. I don't think that'll ever work. I don't believe that'll work. I just don't feel like that's the case. If you're trying to rebuild, you're not bringing in a Belichick. I think he's the same as Pete Carroll right now, right? A guy that is up there. Come on, you went to a college, had all the money you could possibly have to bring in whatever you wanted to bring in, and you won, 4 games over there? I don't think his stock is as high as it used to be. And he's already said, he's locked in over there. The NFL, nobody's going to let him bring his girlfriend on the field at 24-year-old. Nobody's going to let her, in the meeting rooms in Vegas. Nobody's going to let her in the building. So Belichick is just out of the question, bro. It's way too much drama to have a 24-year-old in there trying to tell dudes how to run plays and on offense and defense, to be on the sideline taking notes and shit. That would never ever work in the NFL for any team. Mendoza is going to be an awesome player. We can't fumble this. All these talks about and what system though? Whose system? Whose system? The Indiana system, where he has two starred receivers and a top 10 or 15 offensive line and a running game and a top 10 defense. Come on, is he really that good, or is he a product of the system? Because I didn't remember anybody saying Fernando Mendoza when he was at Cal. Nobody. Was there talks? Was there talks last year saying, damn, if Fernando Mendoza, if he joins this transfer portal, he could be the number one quarterback in the NFL? Was there talks 2 years ago when he was there? Right? He was putting up numbers. He put up decent numbers. I didn't hear one person, and maybe, I missed it. I don't watch everything, right? I could have missed it, but I didn't hear anybody mentioning the name Fernando Mendoza as a name to watch out for in this year's draft. And I guarantee you, I'll almost guarantee you, if it wasn't for him being with the coach that he got with, Cignetti and Indiana, come on, man. The dude was an Alabama, was in Alabama staffs with the Alabama coach, right? That comes from a very, 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 very good solid tree, and it was just a matter of time before he left and went and got a head coaching gig. And one of the best coaches out there. So I think Mendoza is another one of those quarterbacks, product of the system, right? Product of the system. I see people posting his highlights, the touchdown pass in the playoffs 2 weeks ago, right? Did you see how high the dude had to jump off the ground to catch that pass? They're like, oh, look at that throw. Come on, man. He's lucky the receiver had enough hops to pull that shit out of the air. Like, otherwise, they would have lost that game. And I don't think we'd be having this conversation about Mendoza, because first it was Ty Simpson, then it was, Dante Moore, and then both of those dudes kind of dropped off the map. And Mendoza, because he was in the Heisman run in the Heisman talks, just kind of pumped up out of nowhere. So I'm just not sold on that dude at all. I'm not sold. So we're going with the quarterback or what, homie? The Rio Jose. I mean, more than likely, the Raiders will do something stupid. But if we have the number one pick, I don't see us taking a quarterback. I don't. I really don't. Jets have ton of draft capital, trade back. Exactly. 100%. 6'7". Where you from? I'm a Cali boy. I live in Arkansas now. I grew up back and forth. Mom was there. Pops was here. Where you from? Dog? Mendoza plays are too basic. He is a system quarterback. That's what I just said. Raider Nation 5'10". Shout out to my guy, right? At least somebody knows ball, right? It's people don't understand. Even Tom Brady, as great as he was a product of a system. He had a great defense. He had one of the best tight ends to ever put his feet in cleats and step on the grass and catch a pigskin, right? You had guys like Wes Welker with the Jacoby Myers type that were hard hat dudes that were fast and quick and slimy and could get open. Never really had those number ones. I mean, Randy Moss for a little bit, T.O. I think for a minute, right? But not too much. Never had those big number one receivers. He had a great offensive line. They spent all their money in the offensive line. They had a great defense. And when you have a great defense that constantly goes 3 and out and gets you more opportunities, you look good as a quarterback. And I think that's the problem with all of the NFL, all NFL quarterbacks. The NFL scouts are so wrong on these quarterbacks year in and year out and year in and year out. Look at Bo Nix playing his ass off. He fell all the way to what, 9, 10, some shit? Come on. That's crazy. You get guys like Daniel Jones taking, tops in the draft. You get guys like what's the dude from Cleveland, right? The Mendoza, not Mendoza, Johnny, whatever the hell his name is, right? Like the NFL scouts are, I hate to say it, but these guys are not great at their job, bro. Like when it comes to quarterbacks, they are so bad. And I don't know if they just don't watch these guys or if they just watch highlight films, if they don't interview them, I don't know. But the quarterbacks, man, they miss so much, and it's not worth wasting. The first time we've had, this is only the second time in the history of the Raiders, Oakland, Cali, and Los Angeles, that we have had the number one pick. You just don't waste that. You just don't waste it on a basic quarterback. Yes, he can make all the throws. Yes, he's got a little bit of footwork. Yes, he's sneaky quick, right? But is he that good on the Titans? Will he be that good on the Jets? Will he be that good on a bad Raiders team? My answer is absolutely no. I just don't see it. I don't see Mendoza being the type of quarterback to elevate a whole entire franchise. I just don't. I don't see that one guy making the offensive line better, making our receivers better, making our defense want to play better. I just don't. I don't. He doesn't strike me as that kid. He is in Arkansas. Yeah. ALC cannot step up. He's good, but he's overall, he knows. Damn, I'm that far behind. Good overall and knows that. He is very smart. He's very smart. He's got great arm accuracy. He's very decisive at the line of scrimmage. I see him check out of plays all the time and they end up in first downs constantly. Just go back and watch some of his film, all 22, or just go watch his highlights. Kids constantly was checking out of plays, right? This, he's very, very intelligent. He has a smart arm. I mean, a smart brain. He has a good arm. And he's willing to stand in the pocket and take shots. Like, I hear all this talk about Mendoza. Oh, he stood in there and took a lick, right? He knew he was going to get leveled. Aiden O'Connell's done that, I don't know how many times, at a professional level, not just college. So, I like Aiden, man. And I think the Raiders are stupid, the last 2 years of not playing him. And now it might be too late because I agree. They need a franchise quarterback. Aiden's going to be, 27, 28. I believe he could still be that guy for as long as, they'll allow him if they build around him. But they're just not willing to take that chance. And they just pushed him so far behind that he's not even on the map. I'm grilling steaks. Damn, bro, why are you making me hungry? Come in here with your name calling my friend. You talk about steaks. May and Stafford both have the arm talent, great improvisers, which Mendoza is not. Facts. And look at somebody else that's great improvisers. It's Aiden O'Connell, bro. He steps in the pocket, he slides in the pocket, he'll roll out of the pocket, right? Remember the Jets game where he rolled out of pocket, avoided pressure, outran the defensive lineman, and threw it to Michael Mayer to win the game against the Jets 2 years ago? Like, the kid has the talent. He just needs somebody to believe in him. I would definitely trade for picks next year and get Arch. And there's that possibility too, right? There's that possibility too. Look, a lot of people are saying we have the first overall pick. It has to be a quarterback. There is no rule book, no matter how bad you are, that says you must take a quarterback with the first overall pick. But I've just told you, in the last 25 years, 20 of those picks were first overall quarterbacks, and none of them have won a Super Bowl. None of them. Only 7 of them total have ever even been to a playoff game. Ever. So with those numbers, come on, man. I don't know if Mendoza will be a bust. I think if he goes to the Jets, yes. If he goes, if the Rams move up and take him because Matthew Stafford's on his last legs and, they might want that guy for the future, he's going to be a star, right? If you go to a McVay tree, I think that kid's going to be a star. If he goes to Minnesota somehow, Minnesota may trade up and go get a quarterback, he's going to be a star. If you go to the Giants, depends on who takes that job, he could possibly be a star. But I hope the Giants aren't stupid enough to pass up Jackson Dart. That would be dumb as hell. But I don't think Mendoza's going to be a bust. It's just if he gets in the right system with his accuracy, his ball placement, his pre-snap read, his ability to throw guys open and not wait for guys to break open, which is a problem in the NFL, right? Most quarterbacks in the NFL, they fail, like Geno Smith, because they have a problem of waiting for the big play to develop. They don't want to take the small one, right? Some of y'all might be gamblers, right? If you're trying to bet on a team, do you bet on the craziest shit, right? Or do you take the four teamer that's guaranteed and you bet $10 and you might get $1 back? Or are you gonna take the shit that 25 times the bet because it's not probable that somebody's gonna get 2 touchdowns, right? You're trying to win more money, and that's the problem with quarterbacks in the NFL is they're not coached right. They don't get time to prepare, and they all want to be the star and the hero. That's the quarterback position, right? You win with the quarterback, so they say. I believe you win with defense, but you win with the quarterback. And when you have a quarterback that, is like I said, is always trying to wait for that big play or hold the ball too long, it doesn't work, right? If you're waiting for your receiver to break open on your route because you practice over and over and over again the timing of the route, and you wait for that timing to break, sometimes it's too late. Aiden O'Connell has no problem throwing in those windows, right? The last with Bo Hardegree, all the plays under McDaniels are the same plays that Drake May runs right now. Go look at the offense, how they lined up, the formations, the plays that they ran. Josh McDaniels didn't change nothing up. It's the same shit they ran in Vegas with Aiden O'Connell with Bo Hardegree, right? Because he didn't run much with Josh McDaniels, but Bo Hardegree took those plays and made them all timing routes for Aiden O'Connell. And he had a damn good rookie year because of that, because he can throw on timing, because he's not afraid to let it go and throw into the windows, knowing the receiver is going to be there. And that's a lot of shit that these young quarterbacks coming up in this draft are not going to pick up for another 2 or 3 years. And you already got a guy that's got that in the building. Trade the number 1 pick for the Jets for their first and future picks. That's what I would do. Like I said, the little birdie in my ear said, don't be surprised if the Jets go all in on Mendoza, whatever the cost, right? I don't know why they feel like that team is in that position where they could do that, but that's where they're at. Don't be surprised, right? Raiders should have got Gabriel. I don't know about that. You guys never going to win anything. Don't put that bad juju on me, Ricky Bobby. If Mendoza lands with the Jets, they will take Sam. Grant Rogers. Grant and Rogers are the real deal. Yeah, man. Spytek killed it in this draft, right? Spytek killed it in this draft. Pete Carroll tried to sabotage it. And like I said, I don't see a scenario where Pete Carroll comes back unless Mark Davis makes that decision. If it's up to Tom Brady, if it's up to Spytek, if it's up to the people in the building, he's down the road. But the man that writes the checks makes the final decision. And I hope he doesn't make the wrong one and bring Pete Carroll back. We have won 3 times already, right? Trade down the draft Caden Proctor, Arvell Reese, and Taylor Green. That's fire, bro. I'm rolling with that all day. But where you grabbing Caden Proctor at what, 4? If we trade back with the Jets to 3, that's too early for me. That's too early. But there is a possibility. There is a possibility that not a lot of people are talking about, right? What if the Jets move up to number 1, take Mendoza? What if the Giants stay at number 2 and take a receiver or an offensive lineman, right? Then you have the Raiders sitting at number 3 because they traded back to number 3. And then the Las Vegas Raiders get a phone call from somebody that needs a Arvell Reese, somebody that needs a Caleb Downs, and is not going to wait for the draft to fall or to see if the draft falls the way they want it to fall. And they're like, Arvell Reese could be the guy that gets us over the hump. If you're the anybody, if you're the Bengals, if you're the Buffalo Bills, hell, the New England Patriots, right? Um, any team could use a Arvell Reese. So what if you trade down to 3 and then somebody calls you and says, bro, Arvell Reese is still on the board? Let me get him. Let me get him. I give you 2 first rounds for Arvell Reese. Could you imagine what the Raiders come away with to drop back to wherever and just have 2 first rounds this year and 3 first round picks next year? How could you turn that down? How could you turn that down? So that's what I would be trying to do if I was the Raiders. Be like, look, I'm gonna trade back to 3, and if somebody wants to come up to 3 to get somebody, come on up, because we'll move back to wherever we have to build for the future. But I like Caden Proctor. I think he's a big, strong, physical dude, violent hands. I think his footwork and his speed might be a problem in the NFL. But if you can work on that, if you can get a good trainer to get his legs better, to get his balance better, I think Caden Proctor could be a bulldozer in the NFL. But again, man, looking at Charles Grant, I could just vision Ashton Genty, number 2, gliding through the field with Charles Grant in the front, just bulldozing dudes, right? As Ashton Genty jumps over people, spin moves, touchdown Raiders over and over and over again for the next 5, 6, 7 years, bro. I could see that in our future. Charles Grant is that dude, and I believe he will be. But we could take an offensive lineman, and Arvell Reese. Golly, bro, I would take Arvell Reese in a second. I would also take. Hold on, I'm gonna forget all these damn names. I would also take. Where did shit go? C.J. Allen. I would also take. Where is my shits? All right, there we go. Well, fuck you too. Texas Tech. What's the Texas Tech linebacker name? Rodriguez. Jacob Rodriguez. Man, I would take a Jacob Rodriguez in a heartbeat, bro. In a heartbeat. Could you imagine landing a Jacob Rodriguez? Landing a Carnell Tate, a Jacob Rodriguez, and a corner and a safety or a defensive tackle in this draft. I mean, bro, I'm honored. I'd be all over it. All over it. DraftKings, that's not what I want. But yeah, there's the position we are in that's the thing, bro. That's the main thing. Is just the position we are in right now, holding that number 1 pick. It's life changing as a franchise. Like, I think people underestimate the value, right? Because not only do you get that number 1 pick, but I do believe you get the first pick of the first 4 rounds. Is that it? The first 4 rounds, or maybe just the first 2? I do know you get the second pick, the second round, first pick overall, which is the 33rd pick. That pick is a valuable ass pick. The Raiders could end up trading number 1 and then trading the 33 pick and move back and get more capital then. We could walk away of this draft with 15 picks this year and another 5 next year. I mean, the possibilities are endless of how we could go. Well, let's just look at the top of the board, right? Top of the board right now. You got Reuben Bain Jr. I'm going to tell you why no. I know a lot of people are feeding you Reuben Bain is the best defensive player in this draft. I disagree. I highly, highly disagree. But you got Reuben Baines, you got Caleb Downs, which is my dog. Man, if I'm the GM, I'm taking Caleb Downs. I think that dude just changes your franchise in a heartbeat. It's not even a question. You got Peter Woods out of Clemson, a defensive tackle that can play edge, can play D-line, a big boy, 315 pounds, 6'3", 4.75 speed. Not very good, right? But if you look at Reuben Bain, 4.72. Ruben Bain, also telling you, if you listen to Raiders Unleashed, become a smarter Raider fan. Ruben Bain has 30-inch arms. 30. 30 and 30 and 3/4 are 5/8. 30 and 5/8. They're not even 30 and a half. Those are short arms. He runs a 4.72. That is not NFL speed. That is not NFL arm length. And there is nothing about that that is elite. So, if somebody was to take a Ruben Bain Jr., and I'm probably going to be wrong on this because he's a monster. He's got strength, but you're not going against these weak ass tackles that won't even be picked in the third, fourth, fifth, or sixth round of this year's draft or next year's draft, day in, every week. You're going against NFL top tackles, bookends in the NFL more than likely every single week. And when that's the case, yeah, your bend is great. Yeah, your technique and your hands are violent. All that. But at 4.72 and 30-inch arms, I'm not taking him in the first round. I'm not anywhere in the first round. And call me crazy, call me what you will. Just don't call me a Chiefs, Broncos, or a Donkeys fan or a Chargers fan. But I'm not taking Ruben Bain in the first, bro. I'm skipping on that. Now, I watched some film on him because people keep asking me, what do I think of Ruben Bain? And I think what I've just told you. Now, there is a chance. I mean, he's going to be a monster, right? He's going to be a monster. But that's not a dude I'm taking third, fourth, fifth, sixth that's trying to change my franchise. Then you have Miami, 6'6", 315. Francis Mauigoa. Now, if you're looking for a tackle, that's my guy. That's my guy. That's my guy. I'm willing to bring him in, let him start first year, develop, but you got to go get a good offensive coach with a good offensive coordinator and a good offensive line coach with a damn good running game coordinator. If you bring in those things, I'm not opposed of taking Magoa at 3 if we drop back to 3, at 5 if we drop back to 5. And I know there's some other guys that I would much rather take. My lips are chapped as hell. Fuck. I know there's some other guys on this board that I would rather have. Then you got Jeremiah Love, who's going to go probably in the top 10 and, very deservingly. Then you have another dude from Auburn that I like an awful lot also. 6'6", 285, and Keldrick Falk plays edge, right? Can play defensive end, can play the 3 or 4 technique, can play on the 5 on the outside. Probably don't want him too much at the ghost 9 position because he runs a 4.7 4.40. Projectedly, that's what his time should be. I'm seeing a lot of these guys remind me of Tyree Wilson. I'm gonna be straight honest. Let's keep it a buck. 6'6", 285 pounds, slow as shit, but they both have better technique, right? They both have better bend, better get off, better technique, but still just kind of slow. A corner that if we have Pete Carroll, probably not going to fit the agenda, but if we move on from Pete Carroll, we got this corner right here in Mansur Delane. Mansur Delane. But he's 6 foot, 190, a little bit light, right? In a 4.40. Now, maybe he gets his times up there, gets it down somewhere to a 4.3, 4.37, 4.38. I know you don't think it makes a difference, but 4.4 is not going to be able to compete against the Kansas City Chiefs, who everybody on their receiving core runs a 4.240, right? It's you got to have faster guys in the NFL. Shout out to everybody in the building. Double tap the screen. And then you got guys like Jordan Tyson, right? Jordan Tyson in the building. Let's see who else they got in the first round, real quick. You got Carnell Tate. You got Arvell Reese, which, man, what I'm looking at right now, they got Arvell Reese in the top 15, not even in the top 10, which is absolutely just crazy to me. A guy that is 6'4", 234, 243, and runs a 5.240. That's enough to get sideline to sideline. That's enough to cover the tight ends and the linebackers, right? In my opinion, you got the speed. You could be an edge rusher. You could put him on the line and blitz in the, in the A gap, in the B gap, right? Arvell Reese is a dog. But then you got Spencer Fano, 6'6", 302, a little bit light for 6'6", right? But he's got quickness, bro. He's under the fives in the 40-yard dash, under five, a 4.9. Shit, that's what most NFL quarterbacks run is a 4.9. So you get Fano, um, Spencer Fano out there at tackle, right? You can get him out in space, right? You can run a lot of shit with Ashton Genty on the outside. Um, Another pick that I would be absolutely down for. Makai Lemon, you know, we need a receiver. We need a number one receiver. We've been needing a number one receiver. Shout out to everybody in the building. Um, TJ Parker, another Clemson defensive tackle, right? Edge rusher type guy. Um, a little bit faster than his counterpart. Caden Proctor is 6'7", 366. You know, I like the numbers, man. I like the numbers. Kind of DJ Glaze size. I think better technique. I think better hands. But the footwork, it kind of reminds me of that. Um, and I'm not saying his comp is DJ Glaze because obviously he's going to be a first round pick. DJ Glaze was a third round pick. But there was much better tackles in that draft. Who else we got? Jennings Dunker is another dude, 6'5", that probably be moved to the guard position. If I had my choice, that's where I would put him. Outside is not too bad. But the Raiders' biggest position need is not quarterback right now. I know you think it is. I know you think it is. We have serviceable quarterbacks, and there are free agents that you can go get and be a plug and play, guy for a year or two if you have to. But I just don't see any of them unless it's Malik Willis or a guy that can run and be mobile, beating out what we have in the building in O'Connell. But linebacker wise, we talked about Arvell Reese. But there's another guy from Texas Tech, David Bailey, who is an absolute monster, 6'3", 250, right? Got that 4.2 speed. Another guy that could get down to business. Um, you can blitz, you can cover. Uh, Anthony Hill Jr., out of Texas, another linebacker, is a guy that has a little bit better speed, runs a 4.5 flat. Another guy that we can bring in. I believe linebacker is our worst position. We need to clean house. If it was me and I'm the coach of this team or the GM of this team, I'm looking at this and we'll break it down, like I said, tomorrow or the next day, the roster. But I'm looking at this roster and I'm thinking, nah, bro. Nah, bro. Nah. A Landon Roberts, kick rocks. Jamal Adams, I'll bring you in. I might move you back to safety. But as bad as you being covered as a cover linebacker, I don't know what I'm doing with Jamal Adams, but I might bring him back. I might bring Devin White back just to compete. If you make the roster, you make the roster. If you don't, you don't. 165 tackles you cannot overlook. Um, Cody Lindenberg, Tommy Eichenberg. Those are the only two dudes that I'm bringing back because we haven't seen what Cody Lindenberg can do, and we've seen flashes from Tommy Eichenberg. The dude hits like a truck. He's good at blitzing. He's good at getting to the quarterback at tackles for loss. He has that speed. He can cover better than a Landon Roberts and better than Devin White. So I'm keeping those two linebackers. I'm clearing house, and I'm getting all new linebackers. And a damn good start would be Arvell Reese, David Bailey, Anthony Hill Jr. And one of my tops linebacker is Sonny Styles, Ohio State linebacker. Comes from one of the best colleges in football, year in and year out. One of the best defenses in college football, year in and year out. And Sonny Styles is a dude that I would hook up in a minute. And
if those four are gone, shit, not even probably not. But another guy that I would put a little bit higher than a couple of those linebackers is C.J. Allen at a Georgia. You can't go wrong with Georgia linebackers in the NFL. It's a proven fact. Just go look at the linebackers coming out of Georgia. It's to me, C.J. Allen is one of those dudes, right? He can cover. He's good at reading the quarterback's eyes and breaking on the ball. He's good at getting to the quarterback. You can cover, you can tackle him, make tackle losses in the back, tackle for losses in the backfield. So um, another guy is Wheat Mick, Weeks, right? Weeks from LSU is one of those dogs. It's one of those guys like back in the day, like a Bill Romanowski type. That is Meeks to me, right? That is Meeks to me. Definitely a Romanowski type, a dude that's trying to take your head off on every single play. And if you need a Mike linebacker, a guy that can put guys in position, right? That can get to the quarterback, that can get skinny through the line of scrimmage, and get to the quarterback. I really like Whit Weeks. I like the hell out of this kid. DeAndre Perkins at Ohio is another one. Harold Perkins is another one, bro. There's so many damn linebackers in this draft that I'd be willing to go look at. And then quarterbacks again. If you have a chance of getting a Dante Moore next year, if you have a chance of getting a Manning, an Arch Manning, right? Arch Manning struggled the beginning of the year. They struggled against top teams, but he's also got that it factor. He can run. He's pretty quick. He doesn't take a lot of sacks. He has a great arm. He has a great pedigree. His father and his brother have all won Super Bowls. They were dogs in the NFL. And if there's ever a chance that he comes out next year, I would hate to be the Raiders and this Raider fan base and the shit that y'all are gonna take from mainly me because we went and got Mendoza and we passed on the chance of getting a CJ Carr or a Arch Manning, right, or any of these guys. Another dude is Trinidad Chabelis, right? I don't think he enters the draft this year, but that's a dude that by next year, would have enough starts under his belt. And if you try to weigh it out, right, no matter which way you weigh it, Mendoza, whatever they want to feed you and make the sheep try to believe and make people sheep, like everybody wants to feed you their shit and be like, this is the way, this is the only way. The Raiders have to take Mendoza. That is wrong. That is bullshit. That is outlandish takes. There's other guys, and it makes way more sense for this Las Vegas Raiders organization to wait next year to trade back to get draft capital and be in position to do whatever you want to do and have your pick between 5, 6, 7, 8, possibly 9 or more guys that could possibly come out in the first round. It just makes more sense. Just makes more sense. So I hope everybody learned something. I hope everybody got a little better knowledge. But just let me remind you before I leave and get out of here, and I'll read these comments, and then I'll go. Jonathan, what's good? Let me see how far these comments go back. Josh Jacobs is betting game like Chauncey Billups. Ouch. Ouch. Oh, shit. I'm way behind. Oh, my God. Okay, I'm not reading all these. I appreciate every single person that's come in through this building, but holy shit. See, I have this problem. I love my Raiders, and I love talking to y'all. So when you come in here and you ask me questions, bro, I'm just going to ramble and ramble and ramble. It's been 2 hours and 13 minutes. I didn't even get to all the topics again that I wanted to get to because y'all are so great with your questions. And I can't answer quickly. I just can't. It's just not me. I give reasons, right? I like to explain shit. It's just in the job I've been in my whole entire life, you know, shit, since I was 18 years old, I'm now 50. You can't just go in there and do it. You have to explain why, how, the reasons, how you're going to do it, what's the end result, what's the starting result, right? And so, if you ask me questions, it's going to take a minute. Bills suck. Home field advantage. Shout out for the 4.99. Let's go Raiders. First round pick. Let's go get it. Grandpa Harold and Raider Nation forever. Let's go. Let's go. All right, I'm going to scroll through all these. I'm sorry if I missed your comment. I apologize. Come back tomorrow. Hashtag your question, and I will answer it if I didn't get to it. Mendoza is the truth. Why wait for something that isn't guaranteed? How is Mendoza the truth? And how is Mendoza more guaranteed than having to pick of the litter between 5 to 9 quarterbacks next year? Now, there's not a possibility they all come out, but if they do, how is taking Mendoza the truth? What's the truth about Mendoza? If he wins the national championship, if he wins the Natty, and he averages 200 yards a game and 2 touchdowns and no turnovers, then I might be, from here to here with Mendoza. But I'm telling you, mark my words. If the Raiders draft Mendoza, it's not a guarantee for one, and it's a mistake. I feel it's a big mistake. What happened to freedom, religion, and the Constitution? I don't know. The Geneva Convention and the Native Rights Act. I don't know what happened to it. It's still there. Still there, bro. I'm from New York, long away from Las Vegas. LOL. Watching the game with my dad sometimes. Really appreciate the support. Thank you for asking and going through the breakdown of it today. Hey, I appreciate you, my guy. It means the world. Shout out to Grandpa Harold in the building. Judy needs a better offensive line. What? What are you talking about? Are you talking about the Cleveland receiver? Or Jurdy? I don't know. I'm lost. All right. Am I to the bottom? Thank God I made it to the bottom. What'd that say? Jurdy need. Where'd that? You love Bane? What the hell? Did you really say you love Ruben Bane? Come on, man. How do you feel about Geno Smith this season? Do you think it's his last? Geno Smith is done. There's no scenario where you bring Geno Smith back unless Max Crosby says, I want to be traded if Pete Carroll does not come back. If Max Crosby, if Geno Smith comes back, it's all Max Crosby's fault. So get in his DMs, find out where he lives, beat on his door, go to games and heckle him and talk shit because it'll be Max Crosby's fault if Pete Carroll and Geno Smith come back and nobody else's. So there's no way Geno comes back. There's no way you can justify it. There's no way you can make it sound good, look good, feel good, or taste good to justify bringing Geno back, or Pete Carroll for that matter, right? Or Pete Carroll for that matter. Judy needs. Oh, you mean Genty? Genty does. Raiders drafted Mendoza. Man, just because Mitchell Rans in Chat Sports told you that's what the Raiders are doing doesn't mean shit. That dude has not been right on one single draft pick the whole entire 8 years he's been in the NFL doing this shit. So if you're listening to that dude, you might want to get a better dude to listen to. I'm just saying. Just saying. I hit on more shit in 1 month than he has in 8 years. So don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype, bro. Don't believe the hype. Listen to people like Lincoln Kennedy that are in the building that know what they're talking about, right? People that have inside information. Anybody could say they know people, they talk to people, they're in the building. Until you see them in the building or shaking hands with those people or talking to them or hanging out with them, don't believe everything that you hear or read. Mendoza is not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. I think your beanie looks very cool. Appreciate you, my guy. Appreciate you. Not Jurdy, I meant Genty. You were confusing me, bro. You were confusing me, dog. I was like, what is he talking about? Max Crosby to the Bears for 2 firsts, you down? Nah. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why in a second. I'll tell you why in a second. What do you think would be the best return for the Raiders if they do trade Geno Smith this offseason? For one, there's not a team on this planet that's going to trade for Geno Smith. I don't think you could get a seventh round pick for Geno Smith. I don't believe. I know there's not a franchise as stupid as the Raiders to go get a guy that's going to be cut and pay and trade a pick for him like the Raiders did. The Seattle Seahawks, from the birdie that was in my ear, told me, and I told you guys, I tried to tell y'all and warn y'all, the Raiders made a stupid decision. But I told y'all, the Seattle Seahawks wanted Sam Darnold last year. The GM, the head coach, they were not on Geno's. They did not want Geno in the building. They did not want the Pete Carroll disciple, the Pete Carroll kid, step kid in the building. They did not want Geno. They were going to cut Geno Smith and draft and sign Sam Darnold. There was a reason Geno wanted more money. They told him no. There was a reason he wanted a longer contract. They told him no. The Seattle Seahawks were going to cut Geno Smith. I promise you, they were going to cut Geno Smith. Pete Carroll said, nah, we'll give you a third round pick for him because if you cut him, maybe somebody else will go get him and, we'll have to wait and somebody might pick him up before he gets to us on waivers, right? So our free agency, right? Somebody might scoop him up. But they were getting rid of him. Pete Carroll went and traded a third. There's nobody that's watching Geno Smith right now and saying that dude is worth trading for. So, no, Geno's not getting traded. He's going to get cut, if anything. And there's a big possibility that he's back next year. Not a big possibility, a very small one. If he is back, it's because of a certain franchise player that doesn't want to rebuild. So take that as you want. Yeah, genius sucks, roll Chiefs. What? Let's go Falcons, dirty bird, baby. Y'all know Geno has always been mid as fuck. Geno has been not even mid. He's never been mid. I've never liked Geno Smith. Look, you can go back and watch all my videos. The greatest thing about YouTube is I can come up here and say a million things. But if you need the proof is in the videos, right? Go back and watch my draft videos. Go back and watch any video that says Geno Smith on it. I talked about how bad he was going to be, how bad the interceptions were going to be if everything didn't go right. Geno Smith is a if quarterback. If you have a running game, if you have a top offensive line, if you have all day to throw, if you have receivers that could win the 50-50 ball 90% of the time, right? If you have speed, if you have all those, then Geno is mid. But if you don't have all of them and you're missing just one, Geno is trash. And, I tried to warn the nation, but they don't listen to me. So Geno Max is the only way he comes back. If Max threatens to one out because they fire Pete Carroll, then, that's the only way I see Geno or Pete Carroll coming back. Still suffering, I see. I never suffer, bro. I ain't never suffering. Suffering is for the weak. I have been a Raiders fan since the days of Bo Jackson. Nice. I lost hope in this team. What are we going to do to get back to our glory days? Well, it all starts with the head coaching. You can't blame Mark Davis for swinging for the fences and missing, right? It just hasn't worked. He's done everything he can. The right people in his ear are not the right people. If you listen to some of these fans, I might move to Vegas and just, follow him around and be a groupie for Mark Davis until he, becomes friends with me so I could put some shit in his ear that he can listen to. But it's the coaching staff and it's the upper management. Until everybody's on the same page, everybody's heading in the right direction, we're just going to be the same old. We signed him. I was prepared for a 5-11 season. I mean, I said we were going to go 12-5. I'm not going to lie and sit up here. I got nothing to hide, right? I was wrong, but I had my reasons. We had Christian Wilkins at the time. We had an offensive line that we thought was going to be the same offensive line as last year. Well, all those things flip flopped and turned around, and I look like a dumbass. But if they would have stayed the same, I think we would have been a lot closer to 12-5 than we were to 2-15. A lot closer, a lot closer. But I believe, like I said, Geno is an if quarterback, and if they would have gave him everything he needed, a top offensive line. They had the running back, right? Brock Bowers would have stayed healthy. Chip Kelly would have worked out as the OC. The Raiders and Geno could have done well. But if you look at the way Geno's played this year, nobody expected him to be worse than he was his rookie season and the year after with the Jets. Nobody. But he has. He has. His passes have been off. The accuracy has been trash. You can't hit the broadside of a barn when they're open. It's just been tragic. It's been tragic for Geno, for his career, for Raider fans that have been flipped off, been called punk ass bitches, and everything else because of this sorry ass quarterback. I would have preferred Russell Wilson. I would have preferred Justin Fields. Like the Raiders, they could have got Justin Fields for a 6th-round pick 2 years ago and developed the man. I think Justin Fields and a Greg Olsen offense would have been way better than anything we got. But I would have went with Aiden O'Connell. You're paying a guy $1.2 million who's won more games in the last 2 years than all three of the guys you tried to put in front of him. Better stats than all three of the guys. Aiden O'Connell had better stats than Jimmy Garoppolo. He had way better stats than Geno Smith. He had way better stats than Garbage Minshew. And more wins than all those guys combined, probably. So if you would have rolled with a quarterback making $1.2 million, you could have saved $71 million you wasted on Geno. You know how good our offensive line would have been with $71 million to spend on it last year? Do you know how good our linebacking core would have been with $70 million? Do you know how good our offensive line, our defensive line, our secondary, and our linebacking core could have been with $71 million that we wasted on a quarterback that was trash? Because people hated Aiden O'Connell? Because big name content creators said we need a quarterback like they're saying now? Because we couldn't make it with Aiden O'Connell, but he's did better than all of them. All of them. The only thing that Geno and Pete have got us is a #1 pick for the first time in 18 years, and I thank them for that. But a smart franchise, like every other franchise, would have started Aiden O'Connell, would have never brought in Gardner Minshew. They would have never brought in Geno Smith. And they would have rolled with what they had. And then if he got hurt, then they would have had to do something. But if you put an offensive line around him and spent all that money that you wasted on Geno, all the money you wasted on the Max Crosby extension that really didn't need to be extended, the money that literally we have wasted on Adam Butler, who has not lived up to the potential that he said he wanted to be an every down defensive lineman. He got his bag and then disappears, right? So, a lot of money we wasted on a lot of shit, and we let a lot of guys walk. This is the second time we've let a coach come in and destroy the Raider Nation from within. Trayvon Moehrig was a damn good safety, better than anybody we got right now. Divine Diablo, as many tackles as he missed. I said for the last 2 years, Divine Diablo couldn't tackle a mannequin in a department store. But he could cover. He could catch guys from behind and tackle them, right? So Divine Diablo is better than any linebacker we have in the building, coverage-wise. Who else? Nate Hobbs. Nate Hobbs is better than any slot corner or shit corner that we've had for that matter. Not named Eric Stokes this season. So we got to stop letting Mark Davis has got to stop letting coaches come in and tear it down like it's a rebuild and then walking away partway through the job, right? This is the 3rd year in a row where we have a contractor come in. And if I'm a contractor, right? So if I tell you I'm going to come in, I'm going to fix your bathroom, right? I'm gonna put you a new. I'm gonna take your tub out. I'm gonna make you a shower, a walk-in shower, so you and your girl could do your thing when you're taking a shower. There's enough room for two people, right? I'm gonna put in new floors, new walls, paint, rip everything out from studs and start over. And I tell you, I'm gonna do this, and you pay me to do this up front, 50%, because that's what it costs, 50% up front, so I can pay for my materials and all my shit. And I go in and I tear everything out, and then I'm like, no phone call, no show, like just done, bro. That's what Josh McDaniels did when they cut for firing him. That's where AP left us for firing him, and that's what's gonna happen with Pete Carroll. That's where he's gonna leave us too. They came down, they ripped everything down almost to the studs. And if you don't think it was a rebuild last year, who was here worth a shit, right? We got rid of every player that was worth anything, that even had a chance of making it to the Pro Bowl or to a first all team or a second all team, right? Any player that was a household name, any player that made plays that helped us win games. Pete Carroll got rid of all of them, all of them. Where's the quarterback this year's draft? Fernando Mendoza might improve some teams' drafts if you pick him at number two. That's a great pick, a great pick. Maybe the Giants want to move, from number two to number one because they don't believe in Jackson Dart. Shit, I'm willing to do that too. But there's one quarterback in this draft, and it doesn't make sense to not trade that pick when there's other teams that are gonna be willing to give an arm and two legs for him. My team can't win a game. They won two, bro. They won two. Accelerator says Raiders 97, Chiefs 13. As much as I would love to see that, I would hate to see that at the same time. Sourdough. I don't know. Your mom probably likes the second one, bro. I'm just saying. I'm back. Had to go to the store. Navy vet in the building. It looks like live in Oakland, not Las Vegas. What? You look like you're live in Oakland. Yeah. Raiders fans since 1974. DMG in the building. Appreciate you. When my dad took me to my first game in Oakland at age 6. Can't quit them now. See, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Exactly where I'm at. Went to my first game as a little tight, right? And shit, it leaves an impression on you that you can't walk away from. Bring back Rich Gannon. Rich Gannon retired with neck problems, and Rich Gannon, as great as he is, as much as I love Rich Gannon, great person, very, very solid NFL quarterback, was just another product of the system, like every NFL quarterback is, man. No matter who you say, what quarterback you name, he's a product of their system. And if you take that quarterback and put him in another system, they don't usually do too well. Hopefully the Raiders get the number one pick and select Mendoza. Another Mendoza. Man, we got a lot of Mendozas in here. What quarterback should Aston Genty best in order for him to succeed and the offensive line improves? That's easy. A mobile quarterback. Just look at Cam Scatterboo, the success he had because teams had to fear the read option. They had to fear the RPO, right? They had to they have to worry about that shit. So if you want Ashton Genty to succeed the most with a quarterback type, it's a mobile quarterback. I lost 5 parlays because of the Raiders couldn't beat the Giants. Damn, bro. I don't know why you would bet anything on the Raiders. I don't know. Shout out Diabolical. Salute to the nation, Raider Nation for live. Yep, double tap the screen. Appreciate y'all. Like, subscribe, follow. Yeah, I prefer AOC over Geno. And that's the thing, bro. If AOC, who's been rumored to play this week, gets in, we could lose our number one spot. But I do not believe the Giants lose to the Cowboys this week. I believe the Giants beat the Cowboys. And if that's the case, we can go out and beat Kansas City, right? So I don't know who plays first, but I hope to God, pray everybody, pray to whatever God you have faith in. If you don't have faith in, pray to your devil, pray to whoever you pray to, that the Las Vegas Raiders get to watch the Giants to see if they win or lose before they take the field. I think it would make a huge, huge difference, because if it's already a loss by the Giants, or if it's a win by the Giants, if the Giants beat the Cowgirls, the Raiders can stomp that ass of Kansas City Chiefs and get the number 1 pick in the draft. And that would be the greatest year that I've had for the Las Vegas Raiders in 50 years of being a diehard for this team that I could ever even think of. Can anyone sell me a Napoleon Kaufman jersey? Man, I used to have one autographed. It burnt down when my house burnt up. But you could get one. I'm sure somebody got one out there somewhere. I hope you use coupons, maybe bet. Coupons for what? I agree, like AOC, not a Super Bowl quarterback, but could have won a few games this year as a bridge. More than a few games, I think. Come on, with Brock Bowers, with Ashton Genty, look, Aiden O'Connell is 6-1 as a Las Vegas Raider when the Raiders rush for 100 yards or more. 6-1. He would be 7-0 if it wasn't for the botched snap in Kansas City that cost us the game. They ran for over 100 yards in that game too. So you got a quarterback that when the team runs for 100 yards, and if you have an Ashton Genty and a solid offensive line, you're pretty much guaranteed 100 yards a game, or close to it, right? And if that's the case, I think Aiden could have won a lot. Coupons, pennies, and pennies used to pay. Hey, pennies work too, man. I also hope you have a great New Year's Eve. Appreciate you, man. I hope you have a great New Year's Eve as well. Hope you had a happy holidays. Damn, there's still more? Y'all just keep coming back. Trade for Josh Allen. I don't know what to trade for Josh Allen. She cheated on you? How'd I get all these comments back? All right, man. So I'm going to end this with this. My guy said, fuck, I forgot what even the comment was. But remember this. My beer's stinky. I smell like fish. Just remember this, right? The Chicago Bears had the first overall pick. They needed a quarterback. They needed a whole bunch of shit, right? They were the Bears. They needed a lot of stuff. Well, they decided the Carolina Panthers needed the pick more than them. The Carolina Panthers called, said, we want the first overall pick. We'll give you a buttload of picks. You can fill your bunghole full of all the picks you want. Name your picks. The Chicago Bears said, sounds like a good idea. Should we take a quarterback? They could have took a quarterback 2 years ago, right? They could have had one of those Drake Mays. They could have had those dudes, right? But the Chicago Bears said, or 3 years ago, the Chicago Bears said, nah. We don't like either one of these quarterbacks. We're not big on Bryce Young. We're not big on CJ Stroud. Let's trade back. So they traded back with the Carolina Panthers, right? Because everybody's saying, this is the year. This is the year. The Raiders have to pick Fernando Mendoza. This is the year. You'll never have the number 1 pick overall again. Tell that to the Chicago Bears that traded their first overall pick to the Carolina Panthers. And the following season, the Carolina Panthers were so bad, they had the number 1 pick again. Guess who got that number 1 pick? The Chicago Bears. So the Chicago Bears not only got 4 or 5 picks to let the Carolina Panthers take their number 1 pick, but they also got those 5 picks, got Carolina's pick that year, and then the following year, they went and got their quarterback, still had a bunch of picks, they got their tight end, and they went and traded, for some offensive linemen. So it just makes way more sense to try to be as lucky as the Bears, and I'm not saying anybody's going to be as lucky as the Bears. Yeah. Why is everybody on Fernando Mendoza, bro? It just makes no sense. Pick Mendoza. For what? For what? We need linebackers. We need offensive linemen. We need defensive linemen. We need corners. We need a star receiver. We need everything but a quarterback, bro. You've been listening to the wrong people, and I demand you to listen to more of Raiders Unleashed, because if I can't change your mind, nobody can change your mind. but it's simple logic. And if you believe in logic and if you have common sense and a brain, Mendoza just doesn't make sense, bro. So if the Raiders are smart and they go and do what the Chicago Bears did, and like I said, there's no guarantee that you trade away your first round pick in the next year that team is so sorry that you get their pick and it's the number one pick. But the New York Jets have been in the top 5 every single year for the last 4 or 5 years. You can't tell me that if you trade with the New York Jets to number 3 and you get more draft capital, that you do not have a chance of their pick being in the top 5 again next year. And with that, I'm out. I love y'all. Appreciate you. Protect your mind, protect your family, protect your mental health. And as always, go Raiders. Just win, baby. Get better. Shout out for the 99. Like, pick Carnell Tate. I wouldn't be mad at that. Kenny has baby hands. What's wrong with what is wrong with Mendoza? There's nothing wrong with Mendoza. The fact there's nothing wrong with Mendoza. This doesn't have anything to do with Mendoza. It has to do with our Raiders, the fan base we love, and how they get better. And Mendoza is not the way to the top. It is trade back. It is to get draft capital. I just explained the Chicago Bears 2 years ago traded that first overall pick. The following year, they got the number 1 pick anyways because the Carolina Panthers were that bad. So there's nothing wrong with Mendoza. Mendoza's going to be great. It's just got to be on another team than the Las Vegas Raiders. It's a big mistake for the Raiders to not trade back and get all the draft capital we can. So, as always, much love. Peace. Raiders. Just love, baby.